Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rack and hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. And welcome to part 2 of today's live stream. Thanks for everyone that was in the last one for jumping across. We have a special event today. We have Friendly Jordies hanging out with us. Say hello so I can check your mic.
Oh, yeah. Well, how's this? It's still peaking a bit. What do you reckon?
I think that's fine. Let us know in the chat, please.
Oh, no, don't ask them.
If the levels are okay.
I'm going to complain about it and say, too high. Yes, mad troll. Very good.
But yeah, please. If you have any issues with the sound, let me know. I'm doing this first time. And I'm just trying to figure out the tech behind it. Jordan, first question for you, straight off the bat. Do you know the reference that I made?
Yeah.
Give up the rock?
Yeah.
Oh, what's it from then?
Well, am I allowed to reveal?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on.
There is an episode, and I think it probably is my favourite episode of Futurama. Why Must I Be a Crustacean in Love?
Wow, you know the episode as well.
Season 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, I have no idea. But let's go with that.
I'm pretty proud of that, man. Honestly, I do, because we used to rent Futurama, especially those 4 seasons. For whatever reason, you had the entire DVD box set, and so did I. And that was, I don't know. And this is the weirdest part. Your parents are those parents of, The Simpsons is awful. However, a show that is basically exactly the same people that wrote The Simpsons, but has much less educational value, as there's very few actual references to the present or TV or books even. No, it's just a talking lobster. Now that's sensible television.
That was pretty much it. That's the logic.
Why?
Because the I don't know, people on the news said don't let your kids watch the Simpsons. That stuff will do their head in. But Futurama,
Futurama because its ratings were low. All right, well that was look, I think as a result of that, you can see Mr. E's humor has been shaped massively by the fact that that's his sign-in should be your first clue. But yeah, here lies a man, one of these rare specimens that grew up on Futurama and doesn't understand The Simpsons at all.
No, really. Heaps of people do Simpsons quotes in the chat, and they'll put little links in the stream chat. And I know the good ones, the classics, but not everything. So.
Oh, well, that's all they quote, right? Surely.
If classics, yeah, but there are.
As soon as the class, quoting season 25 or whatever. No. Are they doing that?
No. They're classics. They're
classics. Look, you have to do that for your own education. Have you gone through okay, all right. This is the absolute paramount. You have to do seasons 3 to 8. Otherwise, I just don't think that you're an Australian millennial. Honestly, it is a really weird... You know what you are? You're kind of like a Jew in Pakistan or something. They exist, but fuck me, they are a rare specimen. That's you, man. Yeah. That's you. You are a Jew in Pakistan. That is millennial. I stand by this. That is Australian millennial religion.
Yeah, I get it.
You were raised unorthodox.
Simpsons references are currency, and they're currency in the stream. And so, yes, I did a bit of an education, but I'm not across all of it. But Futurama, eh? And that's why you get the reference, you understand, because not everybody in the stream, I think, is down with the Futurama references.
No, why would they be? It's a way less popular show.
Yeah, but I think it's more clever.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? I'm telling you, it's not.
It's not?
Look, okay.
You never used to say that.
It was a really bad decision. I really don't think that they ever should have made Futurama for this one specific reason. The quality of The Simpsons immediately dipped because you pretty much had half the writers go to Futurama and the other half stay on The Simpsons. Mm-hmm. So you've made 2 shows that are about half the power of one.
Yeah. But that was his pet project though, right? That's why he did it. Yeah.
And as a result of that, you're right, the Futurama writing is very witty. It's very witty. It's good writing.
Original.
It's original.
Original Futurama,
dude, okay, there are things in The Simpsons. You're talking to a man that has autistically studied comedic theory over the years. There are jokes in The Simpsons that I still look at to this day, and it is funny, and I'm just but why? you know, but why? There is things in The Simpsons that are so layered that even me, a man in my 30s, watches it again and realizes, yes, that was funny for this reason that I understood when I was 20, but it's funnier for a completely different, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're layering references on jokes. I'm telling you now, there will never, ever be anything better than The Simpsons. The Simpsons is... Honestly, I truly believe this up there with Shakespeare in terms of its like cultural relevancy to shaping the world. It is our text of that. It'll never be beaten.
It's our version of Shakespeare. Big call, but fair enough.
But like, what else are you going to give it to? Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
Yes, I contended for the tragedies. What else? Nip Tuck. What other shows have we got? You know what? Actually, probably Grey's Anatomy. Fuck me, that's still going. You remember that? Remember that shit on Channel 7 where it was just like everyone's talking about it, and because they had the ability to make everyone talk about it, everyone could talk about it.
But like that's the TV effect as well, right? Like we were probably one of the last generations to grow up with like a unified culture around something. Now with the internet, social media, all that sort of stuff, like kids can find their own little niche subjects.
So lame.
And become like really hyper focused on whatever area they're interested in. Like we grew up with like certain cultural elements that were pervasive, like The Simpsons. Like you didn't have to be American even. You just had to be of the right generation and grew up with it. And it went across the world. And like kids won't grow up with stuff like that. So like is their humor going to be different as a result of that too? Because they won't have an underlying
fucked and internety.
Yeah, but like there are internet tropes that pop up. Like, you know, people like to bring up viral internet trends, like, you know, your 6-7s and etc. all the time. So like there's that
6
sort of
7s?
You know, 6-7, like that sort of bullshit. Yeah, or skibbity stuff. Like that sort of stuff will continue.
Yeah, no.
But like there's no show or one like actual piece like a Shakespeare or a Simpson that's gonna reign supreme.
No, it is truly there is quite a few things that I'm very grateful that we grew up in this generation. We are absolutely at the absolute outer rim of having an internet career and not being a ped. You know, like if you're any older than us and you have a career, I guarantee that you're a ped. There's just no way that you knew about the internet well enough for it, you know? Like we are absolutely out of reach of it. But I'll say this, man. It's cool that we can have a career now. It's also really lame that there'll never be something where there's like the cream of the crop all in a room discussing it. Like every single
right. Like
Simpsons
a
writer or something like that would just be running their own stream now. And so, yeah, like just immediately by that, instead of there being 2 shows that are half as good as The Simpsons, you've got 40 streams that are a 40th as good.
Yeah.
And like actually will never be, because they'll never be that. This is lame diversity Democrat talk, but like there'll never be that melting pot.
It's DEI rubbish.
There'll never be that melting pot of ideas again.
Yeah, but that's like the decentralization effect of social media as well. Now everybody can be in a media, so like instead of coming together.
Yeah, I know, but it's like,
right? Should
they though?
Yeah. Well, that's the social media effect. That's surveillance capitalism for you, and stepping into the new age. All right, so let's leave popular culture behind for a second. All right, let's look at
the unpopular topics.
Yeah, the unpopular topics. Yeah. Where do you sit on the war on Iran, the US-Israeli strike? Do you think, let me ask you this, I would like to know your opinion. Say the line, mystery. Hey, it's capitalism, baby. What do you think in terms of, will America win the war against Iran?
Yeah,
they're going to win.
Already won.
It's a fair point. Yeah. Well, like, look, if they just wanted to like, cut out the Ayatollah, right? Then they've won it. Was that the point?
But like, is that the plan? Like, was that really what they wanted to do? Just kill him and then get out?
I don't know. Does anyone know what the fuck?
Pretty much what they wanted to do in Venezuela. So
that's exactly what they did in Venezuela. They cut the head off the snake, and then they got the fuck out of there. like if that was their objective, just to kill the Ayatollah, then they've won. Like, but do you think?
Well, I suppose, yeah. Like, actually, yeah, that is mission accomplished technically, isn't it? So, yes.
I didn't watch your video the other day that you brought out, so I didn't know what your hot take on the situation was.
Yeah.
Apart from seeing you talk
Thanks,
for a couple of minutes, no worries, talking a couple of minutes about shitting on JD Vance and why he's a dropkick. Hey?
You saw that.
I saw that like 2 minutes. I was like, I'll come back to it later. But like, yeah,
I have important matters to attend to.
yeah.
Futurama. I haven't watched that enough in my life.
I haven't. I'll spend some more time on it later. But yeah, I saw you deliciously shitting on JD Vance, and I got to admit, I do agree with your critique of him.
So,
And like he is, I think you said something like he's the ideological reference point for the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Like he's their ideas guy or their
no,
orthodoxy.
well, like the intelligentsia of the movement. You know,
Right.
don't you reckon? He thinks in his head that he's adding like intellectual clout
Yeah.
to MAGA. Don't you reckon?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
totally what's going on in his head.
Yeah.
He sees it as like a mental exercise, which, to his credit, it is. That would be like, imagine trying to make MAGA look profound. Yeah.
Well, somebody's got to do it. Hey?
Yeah, but this is the thing. Do they?
Yeah, but
I
like,
don't think they do. Like, no one wants JD Vance there. Everyone's there for the main show. And, like, who the fuck is this guy? He's like, dude, if that guy was, like, a side act brought on before the main comedian, I'd be pissed off and just going to the snack bar. I'm not listening to JD Vance. JD Vance sucks. Honestly, every single person in the Trump administration, bar Trump, is the lamest. They're just so bad. Like, they're just so hateable. All of them. They're like genuinely terrible human beings with like no redeeming qualities at all. Any of them.
it's just so you know, it's referred to as the Trump regime. It's not the Trump administration from now on. We've been listening to the manufacturing consent on this whole Iranian situation for the last like few weeks at least now. And like the language is just non-stop. Like whenever they speak in the context of Iran, it's always regime. It doesn't matter who you're speaking to, anyone in the West, they have to say the word regime. So from now on, there's no such thing as an administration anymore. There's no such thing as a government anymore. Any government around the world, any administration is now going to be called a regime. It's really confronting.
Well, I don't even see why that's such a bad word, honestly.
Well, like they use it in the context of Iran specifically because
So?
like it just like psychologically you're just like, oh yeah, regime. I guess they probably are evil, aren't they? They use the R word. So it's the Trump regime from now on. It's not the
yeah, I
Trump
suppose it does actually give
administration.
that sort of it does give that clout. Rain sounds baller. Rain doesn't do the same thing.
Yeah, Trump's second reign. It's hardcore.
Trump's second reign is cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Trump's regime. And if you really want to make people really evil, you don't call them by their actual title. You call them Supreme Leader. So you don't call them the Ayatollah. You don't call them President anymore. You call them Supreme Leader. And that's how we're going to even out the manufacturing consent from the Western media. Because like everything about the whole Iranian situation has just been like trying to convince people that it's okay to kill Iranians, basically.
Well, no, like I don't think that that's really it's well and truly past that. I don't think that they have the same capacity to do that anymore.
I think like what, you don't think they're going to be able to impact Iran like with their strikes and stuff like that? What do you mean?
No, I mean in terms of the manufacturing consent point, I think those days are over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think it has the same wear and tear anymore.
Like in what sense?
Well, I mean, like, you know, with Palestine, for instance, like if that was happening in the 90s, everyone would still be pro-Israel at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that that's the same thing with Iran. Also, it's just too close.
But it wasn't the
to
mainstream
Iraq.
media with Palestine. Wasn't the mainstream media very much just like, oh, look, enough's enough. And so like they were facilitating the conversation around, okay, we've seen enough carnage now. Can we just get past this? And that was when you had the culmination of everyone getting out on the streets and being like, we don't want to see, even if it is not rail, we don't want to see them killing children anymore. We've had enough of seeing this. And the mainstream media were happy to peddle that story. I found the Western media was all over that. They were like, we've seen too much carnage. It is now time to put an end to this, Israel. calm
Really?
yourselves down. No, I found that largely in the mainstream media.
Because I just don't watch mainstream media anymore. Maybe they are doing that.
Yeah, and like the global and liberal media, the liberal media establishment, like I saw that to be a definite thing. They were like, enough's enough now. We need to start calling
But when
it what
was
it
enough's
is.
enough? When was that? Like a
Like
year
a
in?
year into after
Yeah.
October 7?
No, but that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I honestly think that like favor turned against Israel. Like, they really thought that they probably had like a good window to wreak havoc after October 7, and now just because social media exists, they had October 7 and they're just like, yay, get him. And then like a week later, everyone was like, this is actually really bad. Like they just changed immediately.
Yeah.
Like they just flip on a dime because everyone has the attention span of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's really hard to weave a narrative to people who can't pay attention to a narrative.
Savage. But like the manufacturing consent line that I've found that was definitely there in relation to like after a year of seeing it, people were fed up. They were like, look, I don't want to see anyone die in Gaza, but I don't support Hamas either. And as long as they checked those two things, that was the line that everyone was acceptable with.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Israelis carry out a genocide anymore, but I gotta say, Hamas, they're pretty evil. They did some horrible things. So as long as you had those two boxes ticked, then you could continue with your story in the mainstream media. And that's why things started becoming unacceptable. And that's why we had a reminder, I would say.
Look, this is also some other aspect that I think is very important to remember in the theory of manufacturing consent, which is that propaganda is only effective if it slots into people's reality. You really can't just slam a thought into people's head and that works. It needs to like shift through their view of the world.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, like actually a really good example of this is because I'm just obsessed with North Korea at the moment. North Korea back in the day used to say, oh, you know, we're absolutely blitzing South Korea. It's just, we're doing so much better. And then with the advent of USBs and things, everybody just started seeing K-drama and they're just like, we clearly aren't. Yeah. And then they just shifted the argument to just like, yeah, but this is pure Korea and that's just like puppet America Korea.
Yeah.
And that works because that actually does slot into their view of the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to here, for instance, when you are trying to oust, say, the Rudd government in 2013, your entire pitch has to just be around, oh, the debt's massive, which you can't have that, which you know, like, it has to be something that people grasp onto. So when it comes to like them like weaving something about Palestine, I think it's just because like there was just so much footage on TikTok that you couldn't just come out and say like, oh, you know, this is they're taking every measure and like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, you couldn't do that anymore. You had to go with what was
so like
in people's heads.
The manufacturing consent line only works if it's weaved into some version of reality for people, and if people are getting fed too much of the chaos and the carnage, they're not going to listen to the story anymore. So that's what I'm saying. Like the manufacturing consent machine did concede after a while, and it was just like, all right, enough's enough with the carnage, and they started turning over the conversation to make the new like kind of window of what's acceptable to be on this position. And the acceptability was, okay, Hamas deplorable on one side, fine, but like, hey, Israel's overstepped its boundaries. It's time to rein them in a little bit. And so you had all the action that we've seen unfold since then with the Board of Peace, for example. Like, what's that about? The Board of Peace, hey, by yours truly, the Supreme Leader, Donald Trump, and his regime of peace. Like, that was the end result of a manufacturing consent line. That was like, this is where the acceptable narrative is, and we're going to have to do something. Like, Israel has to be roped in a little bit, and so like it can fall into the background and they can continue doing other stuff, which is like why we're at Iran at the moment.
Yeah, but this is the whole thing. I think that they've really burnt up all of that capital that they had with Iraq. It's too close. Like, the difference between Vietnam and Iraq was a generation. It's not really that with the Iraq War. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And I think that people remember that and remember what a quagmire it was. And I think that also people have in their heads, purely because they had to acknowledge it for so long, that Iran is a much stronger, much more sophisticated state than Iraq is. Every time I say that, people always go, "Oh, well, you know, it's pretty." Like they'll give all these examples of like failures of the Iranian state, and it's like, yeah, dude, it's still a third world, heavily sanctioned country. Sorry, it's not to the same fucking standards as Deutschland Metro. You know,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
I'm saying, for what it is,
Yeah.
which is a heavily sanctioned Middle Eastern like naughty corner state.
Yeah.
Like, it's doing really well, and that is because it has like a 3,000 year history of bureaucracy.
So like
They
people actually
understand-
contend with you though that Iran is not a formidable state, or like it's,
Yeah, they say that kind of shit all the time, and it's like, look, there's two layers to it. In that Iraq was disastrous enough because you had to deal with the chaos of ousting a government.
Yeah.
And so there was no government there.
Yeah.
And that's its own problem.
Yeah.
But like, man, if you have a government where it's kind of just like, it doesn't matter if you just kill like the guy at the top with all the fucking paintings everywhere. Like there's a chain of command that's very entrenched, and then it just moves to the next. That just doubles your problems immediately. You know, like it's very hard to root something out like that. And especially like, then it makes it even more complicated to replace it with what? You know, like it's actually pretty easy. Well, it's not easy, obviously, as we've seen in Iraq, but it's like you could very much clamp down in Iraq and then just be like, no, there's this new strong man here now,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they're like, people are kind of used to that being the effects of it, but it's really like, it's hard to do that to a population that isn't used to that. You know, that won't accept it.
And that's not the situation with Iran as well. Like they've got a sophisticated, I would say, very sophisticated governmental structure and administration. And so like they're ready for anything. They're ready. They've been planning for ages to have their top echelon completely taken out.
Yeah.
Their leaders taken out, and like they've all got like they're more decentralized, and they've got like little segments all around the country, from like, you know, bureaucracies to military administrations that know what the plan is, and they're carrying out the plan. Like the way that we were sold this one, and I think the manufacturing consent line from the mainstream media on this one was very much like, look, we just need to strike them hard enough after the sanctions, and like the regime will fall. And like that is not happening. If anything, the retaliation has been way more sophisticated than anyone thought it would be or predicted it would be. Like some people were even saying, like last week, we were watching people in the stream and stuff, like commentators, analysts, and like they were saying like Iran doesn't even have the potential to strike back. And they were like fair dinkum selling that line. And this wasn't even people like, you know, Fox News or something like that. This was like, you know, other elements of the mainstream media. And they were like, yeah, Iran won't even have the capability to strike back if the US really decides to do something. And so like the manufacturing consent line on this one has been like, Iran is, you know, once they get like hit because of the economic sanctions they've been under, it'll cripple the country, and like it'll be up to the US what they want to do with the entire situation.
It's such an obviously
Ultimately,
bullshit point, just by the point, like, America has been non-stop at Iran's throat for 40 years. Like,
it's a factor. It's a factor.
but like, why wouldn't you, if it was such a cakewalk, why wouldn't you have done it by now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you now, if it wasn't for the fact that the Trump administration is so dumb, like the actual deep state of the United States is, I know this, they're very against the war. Like, you talk to generals and they're like strongly, in no uncertain terms, saying this is like terrible, like we should not be doing, because they understand the game. Like they get that like Iraq was fucking disastrous enough.
Yeah.
Let alone Iran.
Yeah, and it's not as complicated as Iran. Iran is a much more sophisticated machine. And
always
they've
has
been
been
planning.
as well. Man, this is something else that's really interesting about the Persians, which is that for very similar reasons, the Romans could never take them, and vice versa, the Persians could never take Rome. Again, because like what we're always talking about off air, which is that once you actually have like a complicated bureaucratic machine in place, that's really the war effort solved right there. Like, because most of it is about resource management and making sure that it's able to get to the front line. And so you just kind of like a big part of why the Roman army was very successful. People always focus on the tactics of it, but it was also just the fact that it could just send like wave after wave of armies and slowly grind its enemy down, because they just didn't have the capacity to do it, because they couldn't organize that level of resources going.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same thing with the Persians. And so they were always at that stalemate on the border there. And then even when you had, say, like the Caliphate take over with Iran, man, like, you know, a generation, 2 generations in, it was just Iran again, but with like the fucking green circle with the Arabic writing in the back, you know, like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that's what the Americans have been expecting to happen this time, and that's what the mainstream media, like I said, have been trying to push this narrative that if they just cut the head off the snake, then somebody else is going to rise up and take over, and they will be friendly to American interests. But like a lot of the stuff that we've been listening to in the stream and has really implied that like actually what is going to happen now is potentially, if you cut off the head of the snake and the top echelon of the Islamic Republic, you actually have all of these like underlings in the bureaucracy who are actually quite competent at their job, and they're quite good, and they've risen to as high as they can without getting political clout to be at the top level. And so like these are really sophisticated bureaucratic players, and like when they come in, they're not going to fuck around and play world politics. They're just going to want to take out the American threat, or they're going to want to take out the Israeli threat. And so they're going to be more hardcore, as opposed to someone who might be like, all right, America, let's do a deal. It's not going to be like Venezuela, where you have like Maduro taken out and you have that Delcy Rodriguez who's come in and it's kind of been like, all right, I'll do whatever you want, America. Just calm the fuck down. Like the analysis that we're getting, and this might be our bias in the stream, but like the analysis that we're getting is like the people that are actually left over after America and Israel did their strikes are probably more hardcore than the Ayatollah.
yeah.
Like, and they're like probably have a greater resolve because they've seen the effects of American strikes, of Israeli strikes and American action in the past. And so they've probably grown up and they're just like, if I ever get into that position, I know what decision I'll make. And it won't be playing
exactly.
it won't be playing global
you know what
politics.
else as well? It will just be inevitably less ideological, because like when you're at a political game, everything is, but when you're at a bureaucratic level, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, and then if the bureaucracy rises to that position, that's another thing that we're always talking about. Like the reason that China will continue kicking our asses is like, again, like you take away the hammer and sickle or whatever, and it is just, you know, Kevin Rudd's from the top right down to deputy mayor, you know? And so that's the same thing that's going to happen there. If you have a bunch of people that aren't just sitting around with those like panels of 20 guys with turbans being like,
Yes. And you just have a bunch of bureaucrats. It's like, can you sign here? I need to send another missile. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, you reckon?
Yeah.
Like, if you actually strip away the ideology, it's going to get...
It's going to become more efficient.
Beneficial to Iran.
It's going to become more efficient, potentially. This is what I'm saying. Like, the top levels have had to play the political game, like the geopolitics of all of this. And the underlings, maybe not. The little bureaucrats underneath, they're just going to sign the paperwork and they're going to send the missile out without doing the press service that goes with it. They'll just send the missiles out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
They've got more resolve. And like it would seem like the stuff...
And also, it's like, it's so compatible to Iran, honestly. That religious overtext over Iran is like... it's popular in like rural areas and all that kind of stuff. But man... Like, again, this is a country with a 3,000-year history of just, like, understanding what a bureaucracy is. Like, it's not going to be, like, rejected by the public just because it doesn't have the prayer service before it, you know?
We were listening to, I don't know, someone high up in the regime speaking. The regime! There it is, I said the word. The other day, and they were kind of like, look... And like this was fair income, like he's saying, look, we've dealt with this before, and like he like talking about your cultural theory kind of thing. He was just like, we've dealt with this before. The Mongols swept in like 1,000 years ago. We dealt with them. We'll deal with the Americans. I swear to God.
That's
and
mad.
I was like, look, this is it. Like this is a cultural difference here between the West and like the East. Like these people see themselves as a civilizational force that goes well beyond like the last few generations or like the last couple of 100 years of world capitalism. They see this as like the survival and existential threat to their existence as a culture. And so the Ayatollah...
Yeah, but there's also that like cultural memory, exactly what you're saying, of just like, it's happened before. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not the same level of just like urgency that there is in the West, because like it's just like, dude, we're too young as a civilization to really get it. You can just feel that anytime you go to one of these countries, like a really old ass country, you know.
And so like
seen it all before,
and they're not rushing to get to the next financial year. They understand that they can wait things out and like still bounce back as a civilization and rise greater.
Like, and the wheel always turns, and like they get it, you know.
And like so, like the Ayatollah, for example, like when people were talking about him being taken out, like from a Western perspective, that's huge. Imagine if they took out Supreme Leader Trump. Like the Western world would crumble. Like we'd be so like running around like headless chooks, like questioning like what's coming. The Ayatollah goes down, and like he was just like, yeah, I'm happy to be a martyr. I don't give a shit. Like actually, you know, make an example of me, and like people will rise up and want to avenge my death. Like it's just a different framing. And like I just don't think like when it comes to manufacturing concern and like just like the global order and how they're looking at this, like the Western world. Anyway, I don't think they appreciate the cultural nuance between these two adversaries.
That's the whole thing. You really don't. You really don't get it. Especially if you don't really visit these places, I think. I think if you spend like, you know, a year or two in one of these places, like you kind of start to understand it. But yeah, like I just really don't think the West has the framework to think about like, man, like, there's a very good book that I was reading a while ago that was talking about the fact that like the West kind of sees time as like linear, and like Asia sees time as being cyclical. Yeah, which is exactly why he's just talking about like the Mongols coming. Again, like in their perspective of time, it's just like now we're here again.
It's happened before. It'll probably happen again, but we will rise from the ashes. We will rise. Yeah. What do you think about, like, I have to ask, because a few people, we've been speaking about this in streams. What do you think about the naming of the operations?
Oh, that's so good. Operation Dank Storm or whatever. No. Operation W.
This one is Operation Epic Fury. Yeah, it's so good. And
it's kind of lame because like there has been way more Epic Fury dished out.
No,
before.
but like
this is not epic.
Every time Trump talks, like whatever he's doing at that time is like, it's the hottest. Everybody's saying it's the hottest.
I know.
It's the most impressive. Nobody's seen anything like it. Like so, like everything's Epic Fury, right? Come on.
Yes.
And like the last one for the 12-day war last year, when they took out all of the nuclear facilities, apparently, but now they have nukes again. That was called Operation Midnight Hammer, where they like flew the bombers across.
That's pretty standard. That one. That's quite an American tradition, that kind of
but like the
Operation
names
Desert Fox, and like they've got those kind of names. But like Operation Epic Fury is very Zoomer coded, isn't it?
Zoomer coded. Hey, interesting.
Don't you reckon?
Yeah, I guess.
Like it's just it's so gross that like the presidency now is just a meme. Like it's funny. It's undeniably funny, but it's also just like.
But like that's the culture. Those are the times though. Hey,
yeah, no, but it's just like, okay, like this is another thing I really don't like about the West at this, you know, there is nothing anymore that is sacred. Nothing. There's like no decorum in anything. Like it's just like the president's office means nothing. It's a joke in itself. Man, like going to China, I make this point all the time. It's going to be like my new stand-up, but like, man, I was reading about like the mayor of Shanghai. And then I was thinking about mayors in Australia, and I was like, it didn't even register me that a mayor is like an honorary position that is like serious and sought after. Like, it's a joke position to me. That's what I feel like. It's just been so degraded that it's just like any bozo clown that has like the same Mad Max haircut with fake abs. Like he's a mayor. You know what I mean? Like it's just like. And it's the same thing. Like now the presidency is just like an Australian mayor office. It's a joke position. Like it's just there's nothing. I don't know. Like no one gives respect to any church. No one gives respect to any office. There's nothing respectful anymore. Nothing.
But not the Chinese.
Huh? Yeah, but not the Chinese. There's still that. Like all of Asia, really. All of it. Like over in Iran, there will be respect for office. There will be respect for like certain religious institutions. There's nothing. Trump really got rid of that. I think that honestly, the president's office was the last thing where it was like, no, you actually have to be like a really serious, capable person to be. It's just like evidently you don't.
No.
In fact, it's like an asset.
Actually, yes. Like he's actually proved that like the more fucking outrageous he is, like the better he goes. And the better his presidency is, actually. Like, what's happened is, if anything, Iran has actually shown... We were just watching a clip from Nick Fuentes, and Fuentes was basically like, he's betrayed MAGA by doing this. And he was encouraging his listeners, primarily, not to vote at all. But he was like, if you have to vote in the midterms, vote for the Democrats. He's like, we need to teach the Republicans a lesson. We need to teach the GOP a lesson. Like, he is... Trump does better when he's just outrageous, like saying outrageous things, making fun of like disabled people, or like, or like talking about grabbing women in the pussy. Like, he's better when he's just outrageous. If he does the usual neocon shit, or the stuff that the American deep state actually wants him to do, the deep state, like, people fucking hate him. When he's an actual politician, people fucking hate him.
It's true, yeah.
And so you have Fuentes, apparently Candace Owens, the chat was saying before, they're actually in open rebellion now and telling their people not to support Trump and hammer the Republican Party, if possible, in the midterms to teach them a lesson so they can survive 2028 and they can have another Republican president. They're really fucking upset. So like when he does actual president stuff, like they're just supposed to continue the same American supremacy kind of thing. When he does the American supremacy stuff at the sacrifice of like America first or MAGA or something.
It's just so dumb. I don't understand why people like... I do understand why people like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens are doing it, because they're very, very attuned to moods on the internet.
They are.
And so they're very good at like skirting it, and if you don't, you just end up like Ben Shapiro.
What do you think about... So he's just like, he's insignificant now, hey?
Yeah, he is, as the kids used to say in 2015, irrelevant.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, which is honestly astonishing. I was looking at his views the other day and I was like, damn, dude, I get these views, but this is like a 7 million channel.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Yeah.
And also with the cultural relevancy of Ben Shapiro. I mean, like, he'd probably be up there with like fucking Oprah in terms of like name recognition.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about him anymore.
No one cares. And you think that's just because like he just went too hard on the Israel thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like he's just gone too hard.
And he didn't do...
Like he never conceded.
This is a really weird thing. Again, it goes down to an ideological thing. You absolutely should have, if you were persecuting the Israel cause from day one, or I actually think that you would have been forgiven if you argued it for like a few months. But dude, you should have switched immediately to like, man, Muslims suck.
Yeah, you should have just played it
immediately. Like, you should not have ever just been like, Israel deserves to be a state, and like it's like, and you could just see it, just like dude. This is really triggering you, isn't it? Like you are a libtard at this point. You are a libtard. You're getting triggered.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like deep programming in your head. And you're like, and like, it's like, dude, your audience hates this shit. Like, you can't sustain this.
Yeah, the delicious contradiction of them melting like snowflakes is so good.
But like Fuentes and Owens immediately recognized it and went further. I honestly think that you could have survived if you were Shapiro, if you just stuck to like just being anti-Muslim. You could have done it, right?
Yeah.
But like, they went one step further and were just like, not only do we hate Muslims, we also hate Israel. And then that was just like, like they've exploded. And that's always what I thought about like commentators here in Australia that are trying to do the same shtick. They all just try like to run this like dumbass point of just like, Israel is a democracy and also screw Muslims and stuff. It's like, but you have free reign here. You don't have to say that.
Yeah.
So why are you doing it? Like, you can't read your audience.
And that's why, Fuentes definitely does that. He's got the hold on that sort of stuff at the moment. It's incredible because, like, there's internet culture for you. Like, as in, like, this wouldn't, like, he just wouldn't have surfaced like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like a personality like this. But, like, his style of edgelord behavior, like, in this day and age, and because of the actions, I guess, of the Trump regime, has like allowed him to come to the fore and be relevant. He's not irrelevant like Shapiro. He is so relevant now. It was so painful watching Piers Morgan fail to dissect Fuentes at the end of last year. Did you see any of the footage of that?
Yeah,
it was
truly out of touch, which is really weird because, like, man, I always paid Piers Morgan for having his finger on the pulse, but I suppose there's just a point where, like, you know, you are too Fox News pilled, and you really just don't understand the internet. And, like, man, honestly, I don't think that I could, like, I don't think I understand the internet like Fuentes does. You know, I don't think I understand it, but, like, he doesn't get it at all. He doesn't get it at all.
Yeah.
He really got that, like, what you should do is just get, like, a bunch of, like, really psychotic supporters of Palestine and Israel in the same room and just, like, yell abuse at each other for an hour and be like, I'm sorry, I thought we'd really solved something today.
Yes. We bring peace to the Middle East.
You're televising a fucking UN convention with these cunts.
Yeah, he should have stuck to that formula. But he got that little prick in, and, like, he normalized, like, laughing about the Holocaust, basically, and laughing about, like Nazis and Hitler on that platform. Like, Nick Fuentes, like, if he does it in his own forum, like, you know, that's his battlefield. But, like, he went into Piers Morgan's battle territory of choice and humiliated him. And, like, it's disappointing.
Why?
Because, like, you know, you don't need to give Fuentes any more momentum. Like, he is, like, some of the stuff that he says is rather deplorable. And, like, his takes on things are pretty gross.
Like, honestly, this is something that I think everybody needs to understand about Fuentes, which I find not particularly. Like, there's always some figure that, like, again, the wheel always turns, doesn't it? Like, before, oh my God, we've got to do something about Andrew Tate. No. Like, it's just, always just some other figure that comes up. And Fuentes is currently that. Man, the best way to look at Fuentes is people see him as just like Gen Z's Rush Limbaugh. Man, he's Gen Z's Howard Stern. That's the way to think about it. It's just because politics is in the zeitgeist at the moment, but it's the same thing as Howard Stern just getting porn stars on and being like, you want to shit on that shibble over there? You just get a close-up of her pushy? Yeah, like that was like absolutely shocking back in the day, right?
So he's just another edge lord. That's
Dude, that is like, I mean, honestly.
Like, he's just saying edgy stuff.
I will pay Vorsh's analysis of things like this, but he made this, like, incredible point when he just came out, and it was like, you've got Epstein, right? Like, if you are pushing Nick Fuentes' view of the world, could you have any more of a victory lap of, like, Jews run the world and there is a pedophile cult? Like, it's just, and it's like and everyone sees it, everyone gets it. Like, it's just everything that, like, the fat toad memes have been, like, saying for, like, 20 years. And then as soon as that comes in, he's just like, okay, we're selling Jeffrey Epstein style sweaters, and then, like, and then they're just like, what do you mean? And then he's just like, guys, it's lit now. It's like the Jew pedos are lit. Like, he just immediately flips on his audience immediately because he just understands and senses I'm no longer at the vanguard of shocking now because everyone agrees with my point. So he just completely inverts the exact point that he has been pushing for 20 years or like 10 years because it's no longer a shocking point. Dude, he is a shock jock. Like, he's straight up just a shock jock. And so, like, you know, I think that, like, a lot of people are really listening to Nick Fuentes for the same reason that they were just listening to Howard Stern of, like, oh my God, this is so naughty. Like, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. But, like, Piers Morgan is just, like, Tucker Carlson had him on. And I don't think, like, everyone was like, oh, you know, Tucker didn't, gave him a soft interview kind of thing, didn't really press him for anything. But, like, I didn't think that platformed him either because he didn't press him or anything like that. Like, Piers Morgan tried to press him and it just, like, it made him look better. So, like, Piers Morgan just failed, and he failed in his own arena, on his own show. Like, he should have owned that territory and backed that guy into a corner. But, like, every time he tried to give him one of those gotcha moments, it just seemed to actually makes him stronger. Like, it just emboldened him more and his audience. Like, if you go onto Piers Morgan's actual, like, YouTube upload for it, like, the comment section is savage. And it's just, like, tearing Piers Morgan to pieces. But, like, that's what the groypers do, though. they're like an army of Fuentes supporters who just go into comment sections and just troll the fuck out of it and bomb the hell out of it until they win. They ride or die. They ride or die. They ride or die. Like I've got to ask though. This came up in the chat earlier. This is completely unrelated, but I want to know your opinion on this. We've been following fucking Pauline Hanson non-stop. The rise of One Nation. And like, you know, talk about the ascension of the Australian right wing or the new right wing. Now, first of all, before we get into the dirty details of One Nation and like Pauline Hanson potentially being the new Prime Minister of Australia, I have to ask, did you know that Pauline Hanson has a picture like up in the back of her office in Parliament somewhere, and it's like a big red portrait of her. But like in the background, there is the spectre or a shadow of Mao Zedong. Did you know that?
What is that symbolizing?
I have no fucking idea.
Is it that she is protecting Australia from communism, or
I don't know. There's a picture. It's massive red. There's some artist that's like been following her around for ages and like wants to do work with her and like attributed this artwork to her. So it's this huge portrait. It's fucking massive, but like we were like watching in the stream. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what's in the background? And there is the spectre of Mao in the background, and she's kept it up. Now, there's two things here: either she has no fucking idea it's there, or she knows, and it's like the biggest joke ever, and she's down with it and she's okay with it. But like, go and check when you get a chance, because I was wondering if, you know, you're across Australian politics, this is your wheelhouse, if you've ever seen anyone converse about the fact that Pauline Hanson has a picture of herself with Mao Zedong in her office behind her.
but it's not an obvious part of the portrait, is it? Or?
It's like if it was a square, she's almost on one half, and there's enough for you to.
No,
I'm telling you, but like
Mao's like half of the portrait,
like almost. Like, damn, I'm telling you, it's fucking
that is
crazy.
Weird.
It's weird.
I wouldn't
and like,
expected that.
If she's okay with it, like she's in on the joke. And so like, does that change? Like I said to my chat, I was like, look, if we find out, if someone can verify this, and like she's in on the joke here, and she knows that Mao's behind her, and she's down with it, she thinks this is funny, I'm voting One Nation. I'm voting One Nation. I have to pay this. I can't believe she would take a joke like that. There must be another explanation for this. It's a mystery, bro. It's a fucking mystery. Like you have like...
Do you have some meaning behind it, maybe?
I don't know. So anyway, investigation potentially for you. You can get to the bottom of that one. Turn it into a series. But like she has legit... It's the spectre. Ravy Baby's calling it. It's the spectre of Mao. It's like the spectre of communism. And like, is she in on the joke? If she is... Like, she is way more layered than I've ever given her fucking credit for. Oh, you put in the stream chat? Oh, thank God. Here it is. Check this out.
Yes.
There is fucking Mao there. Can you just make out the face?
Why?
And it's like you asked, oh, it must be just like this tiny apparition, like in the background. No. It's fucking huge. He's almost as big as her. And like, why is she maybe what's
it's
the
that
joke?
Mao is disappearing. Like she's defending I honestly think it's she's defending Australia against communism.
Against commies. Like, it's a blood red background. You got Mao's spectre haunting, and there she is standing over Australia, keeping watch from the red dragon as it comes ever and ever closer. Like, there it is. There it is. Like, there it is. There's a meme for us. Eh? He's watching over us as well. He's watching over.
I love how like he looks so much like a guy that should be on a thing of like soy sauce that you buy. Like,
yes.
Like, Uncle Mao's secret soy sauce blend. Like he looks like he's got
superior soy sauce.
That, and also for some reason every one of those Chinese grandma cunts always has like a really stern Mao face, just like, you buy soy sauce now. Like, why are you smiling?
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Pauline Hanson is trying to sell you some fucking soy sauce. She's
I don't know what's going on. Like,
Dude, I'm telling you,
it's something to do with defending communism.
it's a fucking mystery, bro. You got to get to the bottom of it. Someone's going to investigate this for us, and we're going to fucking get to the bottom of it. So, like, now, that's a perfect introduction for a new segment for you. What the fuck is going on with One Nation? What's happening? Is it a protest vote? Is it more than that? Hey? Is this the end of the National Party as we know it? I'm sorry if you've already done this on your channel,
God,
but like,
so.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey? And so you want to replace the Nationals? Like we talked about bureaucracies and technocracy already today. There are certain people in governance. We've had this conversation like offline many a times. Good governance, good administration comes down to the right bureaucracy, how long that bureaucracy has been around and been tested. And so like there are certain mechanisms and mechanizations that go on in the background. And so like it doesn't matter the politics and the drama of it sometimes, you know, the party will still do what it does best, which is like some form of governance, whether you agree with it or not, whatever. But the National Party has that architecture. It has that mechanization in the background. It's established. Does One Nation have the same governance architecture behind it?
No. But the thing is, like, you really have to understand this. The National Party, and I don't put this in any of the other categories of any other party. The National Party is factually the most malignant cancer on Australian democracy. Not even close. Anything that expels that is a good thing.
Damn.
It's honestly a terrible thing. I will take this to the grave. The Australian Liberal Party would be a far better party. I'd still hate it, but it would be such a better party if it wasn't for the fucking Nationals.
Yeah.
The Nationals are an awful outfit that has really carpet-bagged. I wouldn't be surprised if it's to the tune of $1 trillion at this point. Like, the amount of subsidies that they have rattled off for the old gentry of Australia, then miners, then like cotton, like they're just awful, truly awful. Like the amount of environmental damage they're responsible for.
But can I just like interject? Like, do you not see that to be bourgeois politics though? Like the political structure is set up so people like special interest groups can get into power and get decisions made in their interest. Like that is just the nature of politics. So like in a way, they've done politics the best for their particular interest group, for their landed aristocracy, as you're talking about.
I know, they have, and it really gives me the shit.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you now, yes, those interests would exist. No, they would not be as represented if they had to be part of a big tent. But this is why I hate coalition governments with a passion, because that is what is like you are internalizing into the government a special interest lobby group that has to be listened to and abided to and endlessly fed. And that is what the National Party has done. If the National Party was entirely represented by the Liberals, there is not a chance of the level of environmental havoc. I can give you two very quick examples in New South Wales. Brumbies in Kosciuszko National Park, there is no way. That was such an environmental laughing stock that like that just became a joke across the world. You're protecting a feral species. You're trying to get in law that a fucking rat has to be protected. Like it boggled every biologist's mind across the world. Would have never have happened if there was just a pure Liberal government. Would have never happened.
But like if it was a rat, people would have just got rid of it. But like people love horses.
Not enough for that.
No?
Not enough for that. That's exactly what I'm saying. If you are representing a type of horsewoman psycho that has those photos on Facebook of them always when they're 12 years old riding like Betsy or something. Like, yes.
That's exactly what I'm implying, yeah.
Those people, people exist. They are not enough to have sway on the Liberal Party, you know? But they can on the Nationals. It's 12 bozos in fucking Barnaby hats. Yeah, right, mate, it is outrageous. I'm taking this down to the Premier.
All right, and so what's your other killer example of them?
The water theft is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You could go on about that for hours, so I won't. But then also, even when it comes to...
So they're the supreme architects of the water.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that is all cotton. They represent cotton. that is what, and like land clearing to the levels that we're seeing in Brazil, it's all the National Party. The National Party is, I'm telling you, up there with third world shitty like Bolsonaro like governments and stuff like it's really, it really should have no place in a developed society. It's like that kind of crap. It's like really, really low shit.
Yeah.
So anything that expels them, holy shit, I'd be happy about that. I really would.
So let them ride.
Huh?
Let One Nation ride.
Yeah. No, I hope One Nation takes every one of their seats, every single one of them. Like, I hope that infrastructure is permanently killed.
Do they have the political machine to do so, though? Like, they've got to front people.
You know what they do have, though? They have the political machine to destroy the Liberal Party's.
So they could just wipe stuff out, just maximum damage.
Maximum damage. I'm very happy about it. Especially when you look at, say, like New South Wales' election that's coming up, because we don't have like mandatory preferential voting. It's just like if you want. And we all know that the biggest indicator that you are sub 80 IQ is if you're a One Nation voter. Easily. Like, it's not even close. Like, this is what I really like about looking at this stuff. It's honestly an incredible age to live in. The number one indicator that you're going to be a Labor voter in this day and age is if you're educated. Doesn't matter if you're earning $200,000 a year or $50,000 a year. If you have tertiary education, you're more likely to be a Labor voter, right? And it is because they're not going to fall for like this like minor party bullshit of like, oh yeah, just shut the borders, or just fucking end climate change now, can't? Like, just like, you understand that the world is a little bit more complicated than that, you know? Yeah. So like,
so where do you get your facts from when you say like the average One Nation supporter has a certain IQ level?
They do polling on this all the time.
Okay.
There's like, and like, yeah, there's two indicators. This one is actually like a much rarer piece of information that I can't remember where I got it from, but I remember reading it in a book. But a very good indicator of somebody who's going to be MAGA or Pauline or Reform is that they started up a small business and it failed. That's always an indicator. And so, yeah, it can't be my fault. It's the government's. It's migrants' fault. It's not that I'm a shit business owner.
I heard a Marxian style analysis of this situation, the One Nation phenomenon the other day. I won't tell you who it is because you won't like it. But like their assessment of the situation was basically that the One Nation supporter group is largely made up of the petty bourgeoisie, and the petty bourgeoisie are the aspirational bourgeois class in a bourgeois society. So like small to middle business owners,
really?
And like usually ones that have a gripe with the way that society is turning out. They believe that the system has failed them, and so they protest, vote through like things like One Nation.
Exactly.
Yeah, they have like they have basically their petty bourgeois aspirations, and that's the backbone of the One Nation movement.
He's nailed it. He's absolutely nailed it. That is exactly what that political force is.
That's the Marxist style take of that, like the class forces behind.
No, he's absolutely right. That is I mean, what is Pauline? She's a fucking fish and chip shop owner. Yeah. Like, she understands the mindset of these cunts, like, very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't you think?
Yeah, but I think like people generally, though, in like a free market society, believe themselves somehow to be an entrepreneur, even if they're like working for somebody else. They're just like, but I'm working on my career kind of thing. So everybody kind of has like this kind of petty bourgeois mindset in a way. They all think that they're a careerist and an entrepreneur, and they're working for themselves, even if they are working for a big organization. I really work for myself, and I'm just between different jobs and my career projection at the moment. So like, it's an overwhelming kind of sense in like a free market society that we have. People think, if they haven't started a small business already, that they're going to do that one day. They're going to start that business. Like, Tony Robbins talks about that mindset kind of thing all the time. Like, people that are just like, hey, I'm going to start that business one day. I'm going to be that guy. So like, I think there's a lot of people that are aspirationally like petty bourgeois, and then are inclined to kind of vote One Nation or Reform, as you've said, or like be part of the MAGA movement. Because they that's the Australian dream. That's the American dream. Like, you work hard, and like, you invest in yourself or your own enterprise, and you're going to make it one day. That's the dream that everyone's been sold. And so like, whether you actually do that or not, you actually buy into that legend.
Yeah, exactly. And what are they? They're pissed off Liberal voters. Because again, the dream was that you can make it, and it's like what they should have put in the proviso is you can make it if you have 100 IQ.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah,
like it's like
or if
no,
you
I
have
actually
the
genuinely,
you have the right networks. I think that's more of a liberal.
No,
approach.
dude, I honestly think it is set up that it is not that fucking hard. You know, like it's not that hard to set up like a successful plumbing business. It's not that hard to set up like a restaurant that people want. It's just like you make good food, you get like word of mouth comes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Provide a good service. Yeah,
provide a good service. Like it's all set up for. It couldn't be like this is the easiest time in the world to go from like 0 to hero. And, you know, like, if you're not doing that...
Is that the self-help in you coming out there?
Yeah,
it's the easiest time in history.
Dude, it's undeniable. Like, it's like, okay, all right, I'll give you, like, one very good structural reason for this. Pre the 80s, you were from the working class and you wanted to get a loan from a bank. That was just off the table. Like, they wouldn't fucking give it to you.
Yeah, like for a business loan? Or are we talking about, like, housing or, like, anything?
Anything. It was really, really difficult to get a mortgage back in the day.
Yeah, okay.
Dude, you can go to fucking any bank in the world with like, you know, $40 in your pocket. They'll give you something. You know, like they'll do it.
And they'll do it subprime too. Should you actually be getting a loan? Shut up. It'll be good for the housing market, I swear. And they'll do it subprime. Hey, look, there's structural forces behind that though, that I would argue.
What?
Right? Like the structural forces being that like for a long time, you know, finance was well regulated across the world, especially in the wake of like what happened during the Great Depression, and then like, you know, neoliberal policy came in to deregulate financial markets, and capital, the free market itself, was kind of stagnating in like around the 70s and the 80s, as what we're talking about, and so they wanted to give people money, and they had to do it via credit. And like if wages weren't going up,
just this dickhead. Jordies is so ignorant as a business owner. It's wild. A lot of people in my position need loans and support from parents, etc. Pretending it's easy is just dumb. Dude, I'm a business owner and I made it myself. Shut the fuck up. Now, anyway, sorry, go on. It's hard for me.
No,
Dude,
no.
I'm like whatever. Yeah, it's hard. Before it was impossible. Stop your bitching. This is a different age. Like I'm telling you now. There are so many examples of people that just rose from fucking nothing to something, you know? Like, okay, maybe they were intelligent, maybe they were lucky. I'm telling you now, that was not a possibility in the fucking 19th century. It wasn't a possibility in the mid-20th century. Like, that was just off the table. That did not exist. It's like your argument all the time when it comes to this stuff is always just like, oh, like technology is advanced and all this. And that's absolutely true as well. But I'm saying now... that like really what motivates politics, and One Nation is a prime example of it, it's just grievance. That's it. There's no actual like motivator in these people to like move the country in a positive direction. They don't think about that. They just think like, oh, me. That's it.
That's why I brought up before though, like the idea of, is this just a protest vote? Because there's a lot of people that are just like boiling it down to just that.
What?
That people are picking One Nation as a protest to maybe the coalition. They're sick of the coalition. Maybe they're just sick of governance generally. They're sick of the way the economy's going. Whatever. They're lumping in a grievance and they're going to vote for One Nation because it's like a fuck you to the establishment. It's like a protest vote.
Yes.
And so like that's why I said it at the start. And like I was being a little bit facetious, but like, is that your analysis of One Nation and the rise of One Nation? Is like somewhere somebody has got to be the representative of the grievance, the general grievance with society. The general grievance with the economy.
Well,
the general
dude, you know
grievance
what? I'll tell you what else this is, the rise of One Nation. You know what this really is? It's the grievance of billionaires. That's One Nation in a nutshell.
On like people upset with billionaires, or a billionaire class rallying behind a new political party?
I'm telling you now, you listen to Gina Reinhardt speak for 5 minutes and she thinks she's the biggest fucking victim on planet Earth. She's been so hard done by. Everyone, because she has that dumbass small business mindset, fish and chip shit. Like she actually sees herself as that, just like this struggling entrepreneur getting by. You know, like she has that view. She like is kindred spirits with Pauline Hanson. Now her brain is like even more fried because of Twitter. And like just endlessly just rattling off Trump shit and Musk shit. Like, and so, you know, like she feels that One Nation represents her more, and politics is her just little playpen thing that she's just able to fund as part of a like wide patronage network. And she's moved her funding into One Nation, which really shows how vacuous and empty the Liberal Party movement actually is. You know, you move a couple of billionaires somewhere else and the whole thing fucking collapses.
And so, like,
60 years of organization.
Yeah, is that is that an existential threat to the Liberal Party then? If like people of her class, that style of mining magnate, like billionaire specific group there in mining, move across from the Liberals to One Nation, will that, like, we've been speaking about the destruction of the Nationals, but like what you're talking about is potentially the destruction of the Liberal Party itself if they lose their major backers. Is that what's happening as well? Do you think?
Man, this like really goes into something that I've been like thinking about a lot recently. I can go into it in like great detail, but like how do I say this without giving away the sizzle? I've talked about this part of like the overall theory of it before, which is that I think generally society is just becoming like way too narcissistic for democracy to work. I think that that's like a massive, massive problem at its core in this day and age, is that there are so many people that all have that feeling of like, I'm a massive victim. And like no one cares about like trying to move the country anywhere. It's all about them. It's all about their gripes. And this goes all the way down from like people on the dole to billionaires. You know, that this is just an endemic in the entire fucking social structure of society. Everyone's a victim now. And as a result of that, billionaires themselves feel like their own party isn't representing them enough. And so they've gone into their own little factions. And that's exactly what you see with the community independent movement in the East Coast. This is exactly what you're seeing with One Nation. One Nation is just part of like the backbone of the Liberal Party, which has always just been Labor capital. I mean, sorry, mining capital from always. So like she moves, that just goes entirely. Yeah. And so she wants a Liberal Party that, you know, reflects her grievances.
That like basically responds to her interests.
But like, dude, the Liberal, like, how many more interests can you fucking respond to if you're Gina Ryan?
Yeah, I know.
How do you think that you are a victim?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
But it's honestly just this. I honestly think it really just boils down to Peter Dutton isn't doing an imitation of Trump enough. For me, personally. You know? And it's just gotten to this point of like, really what a politician like the Liberals were doing before that is just listening. Because, look, I used to always think that Gina Reinhardt must be some genius, you know? She's just, too much money is behind her. She would have access to the greatest education in the world, and yet she seems to have the intelligence of a 5-year-old. Yeah. She speaks like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, she's really stupid. The job of people like Peter Dutton is to, like, get her wishes and try and fit that in a fucking Western democracy...
The imagery.
Sausage machines. You know what I mean? Like, and she can't...
Get in there.
That's what he's doing. That's like he's trying his hardest. Give the man a break. And then she's got... Because she's so stupid, she thinks that someone that is as dumb as Pauline Hanson is, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
What have you accomplished in 30 years of whinging in the Senate? I've whinged a lot. What actual fucking legislative accomplishments have you ever accomplished? I will know this soon because I am working on this at the moment. I'm just trying to like just point out like it's all vibe. Like all minor parties are always just vibe. And like, you know, I've done to death like going into the Greens like actual policies and looking how they work, and it just falls on its ass immediately. And it's the same thing with One Nation. You know, like you actually look at their view of the world and it's just like, again, it's 5-year-old stuff. Like, this cannot be applied to reality, you know? And, like, it's the same thing. I reckon they'd have exactly the same amount of legislative accomplishments that the Greens have at the end of the day. A lot of blocking a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Not much actual things that they've, like, you know, what you would imagine these, like, independent overseers do, which is, like, work with I bet you there's bugger all of it. Bugger all. I reckon that she mostly just passes through what the Liberal Party does. In fact, that's true. She does just pass like 90% of what the Liberals do. And then she goes on Sky News and talks about like how Australia's lost its way and what happened. And, you know, like just like, what is this? You know, like...
Well, this is why I was asking...
You're electing a podcast.
I was asking the question. Like, if there's no governmental like structure, there's no bureaucracy behind the party, apart from professionally being, you know, a protest party or an oppositional party almost. It's rich to say that. They're just blocking stuff as if the numbers that you're giving us are accurate. Like, if there's no actual substance to run a party machine and they get a lot of votes, and they actually sweep in, what happens in those seats? What happens in Parliament when they've moved from being like kind of tokenistically blocking stuff because it suits their interests and it galvanizes their supporter base to them actually blocking policy or being part of the decision-making machine? Like, what happens in that world? Do we see anything different? Or are they just going to be like another roadblock to getting some governance happening in this country, which is, you know, like most liberal democracies out there, completely slowed down? Like, to carry on from your comment from before, that like in a world full of narcissists now, does democracy even work?
No.
And like, if we have,
it's clear it's falling apart across the world.
It's like, is your grand theory on this though? Because we've talked about this a lot offline, but like, do we just scrap liberal democracies as we know them?
I don't think that this is an argument as to like what we do. I honestly, this is actually my new show. I honestly think it's just inevitable. Like, yeah. I think Parliament in the future, it might be 50 years, might be 100, it will be very much like King Charles is in England. It's sort of just this historical relic that's there because it's kind of like nice and it gives people like this feeling of tradition and like
ceremonial function.
It's got like it has that significance to it, and I think that Parliament will pretty much be the same thing. You'll still have the elections running and like but like really like you're going there as like a tourism thing or like it'll have that kind of like, oh, this was a simpler time, this was sweeter, you know.
So like, what's underneath the framework is technocracy then?
No, not necessarily. I think it is under the EU. I think the EU is absolutely like just barreling towards that.
So what will be there then if the Parliament is just for show?
Well, I think that like pretty much this is my prediction. Again, I'm always wrong when it comes to like predicting the future, always. But this is what I think. I think that like Canada, Australia will pretty much just run the same way we are. But again, because like our government is just a lot more. It's a lot newer. Same with Canada is a nation that was set up by bureaucrats. Ours just came from the privilege of just looking at all these other parliaments that were set up across the world and just being like, okay, well, we're not making that mistake. You know,
yeah.
You know, like we our democracy is a lot easier to just streamline with a bureaucracy, which is what you really should be doing anyway. You know, like
but like when you streamline democracy with a fucking bureaucracy, what you're effectively doing, and this is a Curtis Yarvin take, and I'll give him credit for this, credit where it's due. Nothing like the Dark Enlightenment. But like, if you get rid of democracy and replace it with the bureaucracy, you're ceding power from the elected representatives who get to make decisions on stuff to just some pencil pushing bureaucrat somewhere. And so like, they have power now because of their ideas. So if they've been universally trained or they've got some technical know-how, they take the reins of power. It's no longer in the democracy anymore. And so like, what we're talking about now is advocating for a system of that nature.
Dude, I'm not advocating for it. I'm like, this is my prediction. This is not like, I think this is just beyond what we want to happen.
But like, look at China. We've talked about China a lot, again, offline, but like, China is ultimately a technocracy. They have democracy inside the party and they do elections, but like, the people that are going for elections inside the party are like fucking engineers. So they're all technocrats. They're not fucking Barnum and Joyces. They're actually people with some type of understanding of how the world functions in an industrial society. They understand the mechanizations of being an advanced economy in this day and age because they're fucking engineers. And so like, they might go into politics and be an engineer, but like, it's basically a form of technocracy. And so like, if you really want to get involved in politics and you want to be democratic, then join the party and get into politics. But if not, stay out of it. And like, most people in China decide to stay out of democracy. They don't want to get involved politically. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they can't sit the exams and become part of the party, etc., etc., etc. Now, in Australia, in our system, like people, I think, pride themselves in the fact that we have mandatory voting. Do you have an opinion on mandatory voting?
Yeah.
Do you think we should have it or we shouldn't? Like,
No, I think that is the only thing that is saving our democracy. Like,
Right,
honestly,
right.
if you want a democracy to work, that's just the basics.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you
my
have to
opinion.
have that.
That's my opinion as well. But like, so the thing that saves Australian democracy potentially is the fact that we have mandatory voting and a preferential system. And those two things keep us on the straight and narrow and allow us to guide through the dark times. Even if we have like minority governments, all that sort of stuff, which basically render the government useless.
Exactly, but that's a whole thing. Like, this is why Europe is going nowhere fast, and it is because they don't have preferential voting. They have just proportional voting. So they're just in permanent minority government hell.
Yes.
Like, and that's...
But like we went through our phase of minority government hell.
Yeah, exactly, and look at it. Like, I'll give you a perfect example of it right now. What is the worst state in Australia by a mile? Tasmania. What is the best state in Australia by a mile? South Australia. And it's just because it's a one party. It basically, dude, South Australia is as close as you can get to fucking China. It's just all red. The parliament is just entirely red. That's how it should be. And then you look at Tasmania, and it's because it just gets minority governments in because of their shitty fucking voting system. And that just takes the state back 10 years. And like, it's actually getting to the basket case now where it's seeming like it's going to need a fucking federal bailout. Like, this is a bad, bad state, In
the complete opposition to what you just said then, in regards to Tasmania, is it true that in South Australia, they are the complete opposite of that and they actually profit? The government not only is not in deficit, they actually are generating income.
Yeah, and it's not even this kind of like liberal idea of like, we've got a surplus budget and it's because we just cut back all the public services and shit like that. No, every single
it's not
year
cutting.
they're just like, fuck, we've got more of a surplus. All right, we'll chuck more into hospitals this year. Oh, fuck, we've got even more of a surplus this year. We've got to chuck it in. They don't know what to do with their money.
What's the basis for that?
I'll tell you what the basis is, and everyone's just going to like jump at me, but it's just the facts. It's just like it is. They are the exact opposite of the rest of society. The rest of they're basically like a mirror image of Australia. In that, like, over the last 50 years, we have mostly elected coalition governments, and over the last 50 years, they have mostly elected Labor governments.
And that's the difference.
And
that's
the difference is, in that last 10 years, when we were just wasting it with fucking Scott Morrison going on holiday and being like, I didn't go on holiday, fuck off, and just like needlessly pissing off Europe and China at the same time, being like, fuck both of you, for like headlines from like fucking Murdoch being like, yeah, those EU cunts pissed me off, and like he's doing that dumb shit antics, actively trying to stymie setting up like industries for the 21st century. South Australia, with its tiny budget, has been doing the exact opposite. They've basically been doing Anthony Albanese's Future Made in Australia on a small-ass South Australian budget, and look at the results. Like, I'm telling you now, Adelaide will be our Singapore in the 21st century. It's already happening. Like, so many of these, like, data tech and, like, AI, and all of it, it's all moving to Adelaide. Like, who would have guessed? Adelaide has always been the butt of the joke for like the entire Federation's history. And now look at it, dude. It's like it's a serious player globally now. It's becoming a world city.
But the backbone is almost what we're arguing here is the one-party system.
It's the one-party system, and it is because. And this is sort of what's happened in the Australian political scene, and a lot of this actually was to do with the genius of Paul Keating. Paul Keating, I honestly think this was because like every single time that I ever look at that man and like think, okay, I get, he is the Simpsons of politicians. Like, there's always another fucking layer, that you just didn't get when you were younger. That is what's happening with him. But like one of the major ones of him opening up markets and making it like so easy in this country to make money. Like this is like. Honestly, the economic system that we have in Australia is so few countries have it, Like, I'm telling you now, everyone, like, all these fish and chip shop owners with the One Nation think of, like, it's hard to open up a business here and shit. Like, dude, try opening up one in fucking Iran. Tell me about opening up a business and how hard it is there. Go try in Indonesia. Have a go there, It's fucking amazingly easy to do this shit here, right? another aspect of that is, and this was incredible, say that you're part of the old Knox boys, say that you're part of the old Melbourne University cabal that would usually be the intellectual hardware of the Liberal Party. Paul Keating's opened up your earning capacity to global level. You know, like if you want to be, you could probably be as fucking rich as a Saudi sheikh. You couldn't do that in Australia before. Now you can, because you've got access to the global market in a way that is protected on a level that, like, you know, America and the UK didn't have. Like, it's a very, very complicated little dance that he drove through the 80s. Now that that's there, if you are one of these, like, cocksuckers from Knox or whatever, like, why the fuck would you get into politics? Like, you used to go into politics, run for, like, business connections, also because, like, it was a steady income.
Yeah.
There was, like, it actually made a lot of sense. Now, if you want to become a Liberal politician, what's the appeal? Like, you're earning what? Like $200,000 a year to sit around and listen to grandmas complain about broadband not getting signed up and just say, I'll take that to Parliament. Like, what?
I'm upset about broadband. Don't compare me to
I mean, those grandmas, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you're on the front line of copying all that whinging. Like, that's your job. Dude, being an MP is not a good job. Like, it sucks. And, like, it used to be, like, appealing for people, like, in the Liberal Party and stuff like that, because it kind of just continued on the Knox rugby games where you'd just be talking to, like, business owners and stuff. And so you'd make connections. When you left politics, you could set up something, you know? Like, that was the appeal of it. Now, because it's just easy to just do that, and there's just so much money in Australia that just wasn't there in the 80s. Why would you be doing that if you could, like, if you had half a brain and you had those connections, you could go into any consultancy firm, any bank, you'd be on $500,000 a year before you've even hit 30. Like, you know, in your 30s, you'd be on $1 million, $2 million a year. What, you're going to sit around fucking handing out cucumber sandwiches at the Liberal Party branch until you're fucking 38, and maybe they give you a chance at a marginal seat. Like, what's the point?
So, like, those policy decisions have crippled the Liberal Party.
They've absolutely crippled it, because where is the intellectual hardware in them? Like, they might be, like, fellow travellers of the Liberal Party or stuff, but they're not in there in the trenches building the infrastructure. Those brains are gone. You can see it in the slow decline of intellectual hardware after Howard. Howard was like the last great thinker of the Liberal Party. Like, I mean, you had Malcolm Turnbull that, like, wanted to be Prime Minister as a vanity project.
Put on the resume.
You know, but, like, again, he really I do feel sorry for him on this regard. I don't feel sorry for him on many, but he's really got a lot of fucking durs on the front bench that he has to work with. And that's the front bench, let alone the rock apes on the back. This is what you're trying to form a government over. At some point, it's just impossible. Meanwhile, anybody that's actually, like, civically minded, that actually is educated, that actually knows how the society really runs and actually cares about that shit, they're moving into the Labor Party, and now it just has a capital, like, it just has a complete fucking monopoly on any, like,
and so, like, thoughtful
person.
Are these people are these people entering Labor, which is traditionally a working class party? Are these working class people, or are they, like, not that there is an actual distinction between them, but are these, like, the offspring of the professional managerial class? As in, like, so they're other educated people who have had children that have also went and got educated, and so, like, they have a appreciation for the joys of the system. And so, like, they will give back. They're not in the bourgeois networks where they can just go in, like you said, and be the, I don't know, get a high position in a large private bureaucracy like a bank or something like that, or get some type of high position in a corporation just because of their networks and their education. These people are educated, but they don't have the same networks, so they are potentially willing to go into politics. And they're like, we've got ideas and we can better the nation, and this is something that they can do as a career, and so they go into politics, but they go Labor. They don't go Liberal. These are professional managerial class offspring that, like, if they really want to do politics, they choose the Labor Party. And are these, like, right wing Labor people then that you're talking about, the people that are coming up with the ideas, not those crazy left wing Labor people with their aspirations for dirty communism? But, like, we're talking about civic-minded, as you said, persons that actually have a plan.
Look, if you're a nerd that is into how the world really runs, like if you're a Kevin Rudd type, where else are you going to go? Seriously, like, you're going to go to One Nation? You know? Like, are you really going to do that? Are you going to go to the Liberal Party? Like, look at who the like opposition leader. It's Angus Taylor. For Christ's sakes. Like, that's the intellectual hardware that you're dealing with there.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. There's like nowhere. What, the Greens? No. Like, there's one game in town. Now, obviously, as you said, over the years, the Labor Party has become more professional managerial class than it was union, and like that is just again an inevitability. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to like China and like democracy and all this. Like, that is an inevitability of a world that is becoming more complicated. This is something that I'm pointing out in my old show, but like, man, monarchies were okay in the Middle Ages because like the system was fairly simple, you know, like but you know, like you can't run the world on a system that incentivizes inbreeding, you know, and like it's just like one heavily like do you ever heard about like Charles II of Spain?
No.
Holy fuck, dude! Like that guy, like he's not even missing chromosomes; he's missing dimensions. Like his face is getting flat. Like it's like a square. His head is a square. Like I feel so sorry for the man. You know what I mean? Like they actually think that, like, not even a joke. They legitimately think he had an IQ of 50, and he's running the Spanish Empire.
Yeah.
You can't do like. Like he just constitutionally has all the shots and all the power in him. You cannot run something like the Spanish. This is why the Spanish Empire like collapsed very quickly, and why Britain started to rise up. It's because like the king there always had to do some sort of negotiating with Parliament.
Yeah,
and that was just like immediately you've increased intellect from like 50 IQ to 100 IQ, because that'd be like the average population, right?
Yeah.
So you doubled the intellectual power after that. And like what you're always saying, like, man, when you start talking about like trade routes, when you start talking about contracts, when you start talking about like, you know, like equity and all of these things, like you can't have these decisions, even if you're like a really smart, good king. Like, one guy can't do all that shit, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, it was just this thing of, like, parliaments were just fit for purpose in an age when we were just moving to, like, truly global empires, where, like, you had to, like, figure out and keep tabs of what was going on in New Caledonia, you know? Like, you had to move to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the same that you always talk about this as well. We are entering an age now where we are rapidly getting outthought by machinery, and we are also at an age where, because like it's just so digitized, like countries like Singapore and China and all, like they're only going to go on the up. Like like resources are becoming less important in the future than they are now. Like to like really accumulating wealth. You won't be able to compete with countries like Singapore and China in the future. Like, we cannot run a system that we are running against. It's like it's the same thing. It's like what I think with Australia. I think we will just end up being like Swaziland or like Jordan or something. Like, they still have monarchies, but they're kind of just these outliers. They're not. Like, it's not really where the game is.
But like, that's not completely true though, in the sense that if what you're saying in terms of the special power, the special ability that Labor has, which like draws resources from a professional managerial class, and they're civic minded and they have a plan for governance, and if they are to stay in power for long enough, they will save us potentially from being a Jordan or some irrelevant monarchy that's still got a bit of relevance, but like, what else do they do? Tourists go there, it's quite nice, etc., etc. Like, you do believe that like Labor has actually some type of plan to move us into the new age, like with the tech and with the like to compete with your Chinas and your Singapores, as you like to say.
Absolutely. And again, because they have a monopoly on this like intellectual infrastructure now. But man, future made in Australia, if that doesn't happen, I seriously think this. And I think that you'd be completely on board with this thought, right? The future is going to happen regardless of whether Australia wants to be a part of it or not.
Yeah.
You know, like, and the world is moving, and it really does just come down to the fact that climate change is happening. And so that is just changing global economics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so basically we just have to rebuild everything into like a net zero economy in the span of like basically we have to do something as ambitious as the industrial revolution in decades instead of centuries.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like that has to happen, and it has to happen fast, and it is happening across the world right now.
And Future Made for Australia allows that transition to happen.
Oh, like I could go on and on about it.
I'm
can we
sure
just
you
pause
fucking
for like
could.
a couple of minutes so I could get some coffee or something?
Yeah. 2 minutes. We'll be back. If you haven't already, actually, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, follow, etc., etc. We'll be back. 2 minutes. All right, we're back. We're back. All right, where were we? Future Made in Australia. Tell me one reason why that's going to save Australia from the inevitable future, which is if we don't compete with a technocracy like China and compete with it at its own game, which is effectively, they have like a technocratic kind of style of rule. They have a system which is centralized under one leadership. They are able to plan. Like that's the biggest thing for me.
Massive, huge,
like it's
huge,
just
huge.
That's the one thing that liberal democracies can't do. I think I really liked your point before where you were just like, look, in an age where like global affairs and the global economy started to open up because of something like capitalism, right? And the global market became more intensive and extensive because people needed to trade with each other in order to survive. You had a parliamentary system. So instead of having one head, you have a whole parliamentary system to help.
Man, you know what was really weird? I was just listening to like some missing ship that happened in like the 1800s or something in, I can't even remember, some British ship. And dude, the amount of insurance that happened, the fact that they have like these entire coast guards that are set up for this shit, like they had like the incredible amount of bureaucracy and like systems in place for that exact scenario to happen.
Yeah. They were ready.
Like, dude, it was complicated in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like, again, you cannot have like a king, no matter how fucking smart they are. They cannot be running shit like that.
Well, like, and that's the thing. The parliamentary system was the way to politically sort out the economy, which is a very Marxian idea, but whatever.
Is that what he reckons too?
Well, like everything sits on top of the economy. So the base is the economy. And so if the economics of like a global order like that requires parliaments to be like to come about, then so parliaments come about.
Okay, yeah.
Like the necessity is there. Now, like the parliaments themselves can take all these different directions. They can be engulfed in culture wars and like can like debilitate themselves because people get involved with their ideas, but they're economically necessary. And so like what we're talking about now is like potentially a system where, because it's so complex to run an advanced industrial society now in the 21st century with things like AI. Like look at the investment that AI requires, right? They're spending hundreds of billions of dollars to make data centers and to invest in AI infrastructure that can help support the new global order, basically. And you can't have a system, a parliamentary system of governance where like people are changing every 4 years. Like capital investment is way too intensive now to just have the plan change every 4 years. You'd never be able to make anything work with the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of investment.
Yeah, or even if you have a decade, just the threat.
But like, they could just change at a dime.
Like that. Yeah, exactly.
And like the private sector won't want to invest in that either. No. And that's why it stagnates, because they're just like, well, I can't plan anything.
No.
Because it would cost me hundreds of billions of dollars to set this up and somebody else comes in with a different idea in 4 years' time. Like, why the fuck would they do that? But like, China's perfect. China was like, look, we'll stabilize the economy for you. We'll control labor, but like, you have to let us in. And so like China like got access to the technology, got access to the companies, had 50% stake at least in everything. And so like they were able to transform the economy into their own terms, but they did it through planning, and economic planning comes through like a one party system in that regard.
Yep.
And so like in that vein, and like if you were able to have like a Labor government, let's say, like in the South Australian example, stay in for a number of terms and like actually put forward their policy and see it through. What is it that in future Made for Australia that's actually going to save us and put us up there with China?
I mean, yeah, like what we were saying before, in case you missed the intro, but it's like, man, South Australia, the fact that it is doing so well now is precisely because of what that's happening. Like Future Made in Australia is way too big and ambitious of an idea to really get through now. But like, to just give you an idea of how massive this is, I've been thinking about just the investments in hydrogen in it. This is a very, very, very telling stat, I think, of where the world is going. Last decade and a bit, there was about $400 billion investment in gas. This decade, there's been about $40 billion. Hydrogen. I don't even know what the recent figures are. The most recent I could find was 2021 to 2024, $200 billion.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's over.
Yeah.
It's over, you know? And this is the whole thing that's really, really sad about that last decade of Liberal Party rule, is that like all of these investments could have been taking place a decade before. Like that, the worst thing about a Liberal government is not like them screwing up Medicare or whatever. It's honestly just the opportunity cost of them being in. It's just the fact that they don't do fucking anything. They don't develop the country at all. And so this is all stuff that we have a massive advantage in, right? Like as in, we will be, or have the potential at least, and this is according to the Energy Agency, the International Energy Agency, Australia has the capacity to be the biggest exporter of hydrogen. Now, you have to, like, this is a big video that I'm going to be doing on gas, but I really like this analogy of thinking about oil is sort of like VHS, gas is like DVDs, you know, like it's just like it's so much more profoundly complicated than oil. Like the things that you can do with gas, the innovations that you can make in every industry that relies on gas, because it's just so much more reliant. It's like you can turn it on and off really quickly. You can navigate it through like pipes a lot easier. Like it's like it burns at a more consistent heat. Like there's so many things to it that make like everything from like steel manufacturing to car manufacturing to everything that relies on gas so much better than when it was relying on diesel or when it was relying on petrol, right? So it was like a huge advancement, just like it was from DVDs to VHS to DVDs. Dude, you know what?
Analogy,
what?
So good. The analogy. So
you like?
Yeah.
I like it, man. I actually like, because, dude, it's not like DVDs aren't. It's still, think about it, like, now with lasers, you know, like this. Like, I mean, dude, remember the day, like, we're talking about Futurama. Remember when we used to buy, like, TV series, and you buy them on fucking VHS, and you have to buy, like, 24? Because you can fit, like, 2 episodes on a video. And then all of a sudden, like, you just came in a DVD box set, it was like 4 DVDs in it, you know?
It's changed the game.
It changed the game.
It changed the game. So where does hydrogen sit?
You know what hydrogen is? Hydrogen streaming. Hydrogen is streaming. That's what I want everybody to think about. This is the technological revolution that is coming. And this is just one area of Future Made in Australia, by the way. But DVDs to streaming. Think about how much more advanced fucking streaming is. Like on demand, literally everything on the planet at your fingertips at once. Right there for you. Bam. Cheaper than anything you could ever imagine, of like going to fucking Video Easy, risking the overdue fees that we all had. You know, like, you know, even when they were on the bargain days of like $2 for like a movie or something like that. What's Netflix, like $10 a month?
So good.
$10 a month for literally
hey, $2 back in the day, adjusted for inflation. Eh?
Yeah,
$2 went a long way back then.
Netflix doesn't have the lolly pick and mix, does it?
Yeah, it's so good. It was an experience going to the video store back in the day.
You could touch it with your hand.
I could smell.
I can still smell that artificially sweetened popcorn.
All right, stop. For the layman, me, can you explain like the whole fucking revolution in itself? You're saying that this is going to revolutionize energy. Why? Why is hydrogen a game changer here? Come on.
Why is hydrogen a game changer?
Give me the rundown. Give me the rundown.
Well, first off, like, it actually makes the planet habitable. That's a big star.
Minor detail. Let's just assume that the human race continues. Okay, fine.
Like, dude, very similar to how gas is just a much more what's the word, like, dependable and agile form of energy than petrol is. That is what hydrogen is to gas. You know, it's well, potentially not at the moment, because all of this is still developing technology, but it's not developing technology just like we can make a small sun fusion, you know, like it's not like science fiction. It's like it's like not a fusion science fiction, but it's like way further down the line than what hydrogen is, right? Like it's getting developed as we speak. Man.
And so are we developing the technology, or are we just another fucking hole in the ground again, like a resource extraction pit? Like, what are we developing the technology?
Well, that's man, I'm telling you, Future Made in Australia is such a comprehensive, detailed, like it's a complete, really what it is basically transforming Australia's economy now, which is a 20th century economy, into a 21st century economy. That is what Future Made in Australia is. So it's so extensive. But like one aspect of it is like really the fuel that will power the 21st century, which is hydrogen. Hydrogen will be doing that, and it is because it's just, again, far more agile, far more dependable, potentially, than what gas is. currently, right? And they're like, and so like the technological innovations that will happen as a result of that will be very much like what happened with petrol and gas. But I honestly think it'll just be like tenfold to it, especially because we are just entering the age of AI, and it'll be like starting to get moved into all of these things. And so when you get to something like our industries, something that's incredible about hydrogen is that it's so cheap for us to produce and extract that all of a sudden we can just start bringing back industries like steel manufacturing and aluminium manufacturing to Australia, which now, just because it's just, this is the economics of it, which just seems insane, but this is actually cheaper to do, far cheaper to do. Export gas over to China, export steel over to China, export aluminium over to China, like in its raw form, so iron ore or whatever, then get it transformed into steel, then ship the fucking steel back to Australia. You know? Like now, all of a sudden, you can just produce all of that in Australia.
Because the
it'd be
energy
cheaper
costs.
for us to do that and sell it to the Chinese.
Yes.
You know? So there's like
So
huge...
that's how you reshore manufacturing. Because like one of the biggest promises of the Trumpian revolution, the Trump regime, was like he was going to tariff everybody, they were going to pay for it, and then they would somehow reshore all of their manufacturing base.
Dude, this idiot here, hydrogen's outdated. He really is just a bunch of Labour talking points. Ah, yes, the real thinking man in the comments here, Spank Dog.
Well, like,
idiot.
Well, like,
Anyway,
this is why
you don't know what you're talking about, dude. I can guarantee you one thing: Spank Dog has not read the hydrogen strategy of 2024. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
But like, this is why I want to know. Like, I want to know. Like, for the layman, tell us in your infinite wisdom, why is hydrogen so fundamental? Why is it so revolutionary? Why is it going to do all of these things? And like, you know,
but basically,
knock off your naysayers here. Like
again, there is like like pretty much like a quarter of our economy is run on gas at the moment, right? Don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it is in China. I don't know what it is in Japan. I don't know what it is in South Korea. But those are going to be the three exporters that we're going to be having, right? So not only is it that makes it possible, this technology, when it is developed. It's outdated. It's not even developed, you idiot. Anyway, the point is that when it is, like, it will just be put in here, and when it is here, it will be bringing in all of these industries that were shipped offshore as a result of that. Again, because it's just like the economics of it works again, right? Not only that, it allows technological innovations that, again, you saw from gas to petrol. Like, so there will be innovations that we don't even... that we know will happen, but we don't know what those are yet because it is not the fuel that is powering like heavy industry like gas is now, right? So think about the innovations that it will do in, say, building material. Here in Australia, it'll be things like building materials, it'll be aluminium, it'll be steel, it'll be all that kind of stuff, right? When that gets moved over to China, when that gets moved over to South Korea and Japan, and it's developing electronics, and it's developing cars, and it's developing... like microchips, like, cause all of this is stuff that gas is currently like part of that supply chain, right? Like the innovations that it's going to open up in those fields. This is the thing that I'm like very, very excited about when you think about this, right? Like it's actually just on a global scale. It's not even on an Australian scale. Like on an Australian scale, this is an incredible, you know, like economic revolution that is coming, right? But in terms of like global capacity, for production and making more sophisticated technology. I'll tell you something right now. There's two reasons that you and I are affording the life that we have now. The first one is that Gough Whitlam opened up trade relations with China. I mean, that would have happened with anyone. Like, at some point, because the Americans did it, we would have. But, like, okay, I'll give credit to Nixon then, right? But one of them, as you are well aware of this, right? Like, China is the factory of the world now, right? Like, could you imagine how much poorer our lives would be? I'll tell you one thing. Virtually everything in this room that you have right now, you would not have. You would not have if you did not open up to trade relations with China. Like, it just wouldn't exist to begin with, because like that exchange wouldn't have happened. It definitely wouldn't be cheap enough for like the average person to afford. Like, that's an incredible thing in itself. The second one is that like Bob Hawke opened up the markets in the 80s, right? Which just allowed all of these goods to come in. So now we're just experiencing this level of wealth that, you know, European kings couldn't even dream of. Not that long ago, like in the 50s even. Like, I swear to God, we're living a better life than fucking King George VI, you know? Like, I swear to God. Like, have you ever seen, like, there's just like, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the vacuum cleaner. It's like, dude, it's like a ride-on lawnmower, and it's just like some woman with like a maid with like the long dress on it, just like, and it just get like a dress starts getting sucked up by it a bit. Like, oh, me knickers, like. You know, like it's just like the capacity for a good life that we have now. Like, but that was like us sort of developing the 20th century economy. The 21st century economy is just going to be so much. It will just be that magnification again because of that technological ramp that you're seeing, where like, you know, technology kind of goes like this, and then it hits about the 50s, and then it just goes like a hockey stick.
So, but why did Labor land on hydrogen?
It's not Labor that landed on hydrogen. This is what we're talking about again with the bureaucracy. Like, this is not this thing of just like, you know, Albo just sitting in his desk and being like, oh, fusion, gas, fight, coal, yeah, they're all good. Oh, I reckon hydrogen, because it's carbon neutral, we'll go with hydrogen. Like, this is not how it works. This is like, this is all these nerds that you have never heard of in your life. You know how bureaucracy works. They're all sitting there and they're coming up with these contingency plans, which is what a lot of what Canberra bureaucracy does, is just come up with all of these contingencies. They go through a bunch of parliamentary reviews. They go over to international conferences over in the UN, over at the EU. They talk about all of, like, with other nerds, and they just say, like, this is the way forward. This is, like, the way that we're doing this, right? This is very thought out shit. Yeah. And then they come up with something like the National Hydrogen Strategy, which was actually developed during the Liberal Party, but they just canned it. And obviously, that kind of shit gets presented to the Prime Minister, and they're like, nah, you know? But it's there. Obviously, now you've got Labor in power. They're building Future Made in Australia. They've got this. They're just like, yep, we're putting forward that. You know what I mean? Like, this is how these plans are developed. And the proof was in the pudding, in the sense that, like, even before we had any real government assistance or implementation, like, again, you have bureaucracy level stuff of like, oh, we've got this level of budget, so we'll put 100 million into this or whatever now, right? Now you've actually got this, like, blueprint that's there. Before that, there was still tens of billions of dollars of investment going into hydrogen still. You know what I mean? Like, this is not just government. Like, this is like major corporations see the writing on the wall.
In Australia, all of this was happening before Future Made for Australia. These companies, like you were saying, were investing $10 billion in this technology here. Or you're talking about somewhere on the global market.
What?
Like the investment that was happening. Like you're saying, before we even got, like, you know, someone coming in with Future Made for Australia, like we were already investing in this technology.
George gets it as well. Like, look at what he's saying as well. Like, he's absolutely right. Sorry, there's a lot of shit when it comes to hydrogen that's incredible, but George gets it. Rockets, super heavy transport. Like, it opens up that kind of shit. Okay. You know? Like, it's okay, a very good example of what he's talking about is like tankers, for instance. Like, that's one of the biggest climate contributors in itself as an industry. It's just shipping shit in massive... All of a sudden, that's carbon neutral. Can you fucking imagine? Can you imagine? Anyway, sorry, go on with your point.
No, I was just asking. What I'm asking is, you just mentioned that, like, people were already investing in this technology anyway, but prior to Future Made for Australia coming up. And, like, you're saying, when you say $10 billion, do you mean in Australia? Or in Australia.
Because, again, the world sees the potential of Australia basically being like Saudi Arabia of the 21st century. Like, now with our gas and like oil and all this kind of shit, like we have some of the hardest to access fields in the world. It's not a overall picture of it. Like, some of it's easy and shit like that, but it's not as easy as fucking extracting it in fucking Saudi Arabia, for instance, where they do these like geological surveys and they're just like, okay, I think there's water down here. Crap, it's just more oil.
We've hit another vein.
You know, like, East Asia sees Australia as being that for it in the future. Like, how throughout most of the 20th century, the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia were like powering the world, or at the very least powering the United States and its allies. Right? East Asia sees us as that. Can you imagine the fucking power? Can you imagine, like, we will be the fucking guy that, like, the president of the United States has to kiss on the lips when they come into the
Touch it. Touch the wall. Do it. Go on. Kiss it. No, okay. Let's just go with that vein for a second. I'm going to ask you a really controversial question. I don't know if you can answer it. But like, Australia's economy is tied to East Asia, China. And like, we are being framed by East Asia as like a potential resource, like hub for their interests and their purposes. We align ourselves politically, militarily, for security reasons with the US. My position on this is always that, like, let's be honest. Like, if something goes down, like really significantly goes down in Australia on a security level, like the US is too busy. They don't have the resources. They're not coming to our rescue. So like, my opinion is like they're a nice ally and they were good in the old 20th century economy, but not in this age. So like, I would like to think that if our economy is tied so closely to China, potentially in the future to the entirety of East Asia, we should just, rip off the Band-Aid now and like refocus all of our relations towards East Asia and China. And we should be fundamentally changing.
This is something else that I really like about the intellectual wing of the Labor Party. Obviously, there's like a different game that you have to play when you are Prime Minister. But like, dude, when I saw Daniel Andrews and Bob Carr at the glorious liberation from the Japanese
You're talking about
parade.
the one from last year?
Yeah. Like, when I saw that, I was just like, fuck yeah,
Dan
boys.
Andrews
That made me more patriotic than you could ever fucking imagine. That I was just like, fuck yeah. At least there's some cunts here that have held the reins of power that
Imagine
get it.
getting an invite to that gig. Holy shit. They must have a bit of respect for that motherfucker. But like, so I'm assuming...
They're like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Bob Carr is no idiot. Like, he is a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
He gets it.
So like,
but anyway,
I'm assuming your answer is, if we were going to restructure our strategic relations to actually fit in to the 21st century, the rest of the 21st century, like, it's a no-brainer.
Dude, I think Keating, as always, just like, he's just got the right opinion on fucking everything. But like, man, as he used to phrase it, which I think is just so accurate, it's just like, there's two ways to look at it for Australia, which is that like, we're either getting our security from Asia or we're getting our security in Asia. And it's just like, dude, why are we still fucking pretending like it's the 1800s and the British Armada is going to chug over, a couple of port ships over at Singapore and help us out? You know what I mean? Like, it's... Dude, this is our region. Like, this is the place that we should be getting it from. And honestly, other than the Japanese, I think they've treated us quite well over the years, frankly.
So like, and so it's not controversial then. It's not a big take, because like a lot of Australians, I think, would be very uncomfortable because of the manufacturing consent line and like the way we've been indoctrinated for fucking decades now is like, evil, scary China.
I know, but like, this is the thing.
But
I'm
like,
telling you,
more
dude,
than them
it's
just
we're
being
boomers.
But like, more than them just being like fucking like a bad egg. Like, they're actually somehow got some plan to come and attack Australia. Like, people really think there's an existential threat from China coming to get us.
Yeah.
And so like, that's a pretty controversial take, being like, all right, let's redo our strategic ties, like on the international chessboard here, and let's do our relations with China from now on. Like, most Australians wouldn't be able to conceptualize that without freaking out.
Yeah, I know that, but like, again, this is very boomer pilled of us, because this is the whole thing, and I know because I've known you for so long. But I will tell you now, when I used to do my China simpery on the podcast, or when I did it in a video or something.
Simpery.
Well, it's truly, like, I cannot tell a lie. Like, I am very impressed with them as a civilization and society. I think that they are a very serious people. But anyway, like, when I did that at the beginning of my career, it was absolute suicide to talk about it. Like, it was so... And again, like what you were saying, like, the propaganda was so strong. Yeah. And it had that real rabbit dog Pavlovian response where they wouldn't even listen to the point that you were making and just bark out something different about, Zoomers aren't like that. There's a lot of things that I hate about Zoomers, and there's a lot of things that I like about Zoomers. And one thing that I really like about Zoomers is that they're China pilled. I really do like that about them.
Have you heard about China maxing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that this mostly just comes from, again, it's one of these lived experience things where they're just looking at the failures of the West, and then they look at China, and it's just like, yeah, they've got like housing affordability problems, and like, yes, but the other thing that you have to keep in mind is they were coming from being like as poor and backwater as Ethiopia 50 years ago.
Yeah. They've been
Like,
there, man.
I'm sorry,
I've seen
like
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you cannot look at China's development and tell me that it's not fucking impressive. And I think that Zoomers just generally look at that and they're just like, they still have this image in their head that is sort of just this like Soviet Union cross African village. Backwater. You go there and it's like, no, dude, they've got way better cities than we have now. You know, it's not the whole country. They have their tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. But tier 2 is still pretty fucking good. It's not like tier 3 is like, it's not like tier 3 is even Tehran, you know? Like tier 3 is pretty good.
Well, I think Australia's future, like we're talking about Australia's future on a number of levels here, like we really need to rethink our strategic relations. But like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like I was listening to...
Wookie actually said this, step 1, start teaching Mandarin in school as well. Couldn't agree more. Why the fuck are we still learning French? Why?
Why not?
What, to talk to fucking... the Congo or
excuse
something. Excuse
me.
there.
It used to be the lingua franca, okay?
I mean, look, I'll tell you this as well. Like, I'll say this in defense of your wife. Like, fuck, it's a sexy language. It really is, isn't it? Like, it's just, it's not even comparable. Like, Italian is a distant second. And then you change that with fucking Mandarin. And like, sexy's not the first word that comes to mind. I'll tell you this, though. I do like how, like, boss and austere it sounds. Like, it sounds really good in like big corporate announcements and like at the airport, just that like, hey,
oh shit.
I feel like you're in trouble. But yeah, sorry, go on.
No. It's not controversial at all to like gear ourselves.
Not amongst the Zoomers, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So then, like, okay, Mr. Future Made in Australia. Here's your advocacy point. Labor is the party of the future. We just need them to stay in power for long enough to see out their vision. Do you ever see them breaking down the China myth?
No, I think that just inevitably happens with the tides of the world. Like, I think that already is happening. Again, I'm telling you now.
We are very emotionally, sentimentally attached to the Anglosphere. Like, you know, we talked about Iran's culture and just being like, do you remember the Mongols? I remember the Mongols. Like, Australia has a very sentimental relationship with our Anglo partners. Like, look at what we did to the French with the sub deal. Like, we will shoot ourselves in the foot time and time again for other English-speaking countries, apparently. Like, don't dispel the power of the tie to, like, Americans and the British and stuff like that.
But don't you think that, like, a lot of that is just... like Marx's analysis every time. It's just like where the economy goes, so do people's thoughts. And they think, oh, I thought this all along. I'll never forget this as long as I live. I was looking at my mum. She had a little exercise book from when she was in year 6 and we were looking at it. And first off, it put to shame how much dumber our generation is than theirs. Like, they're just writing in calligraphy and they're writing poetry, prose and all this kind of a true British education, you know? Yeah. But that's the whole thing. In there's just flags of England, there's the Beatles, there's, the shots of King George in there, and, like, this is just in the exercise books, and you wouldn't see that now. It'd all just be American pop culture, it'd just be something about a president, you know, like, it's just because the economic power shifted.
Yeah. So, like, eventually the narrative will just change on China. Like, this is largely what's happening with Iran at the moment. Like, if shit goes down hard with Iran and like America kind of gets really depleted in terms of their resource capacity and like they blunder from a moral standpoint, like they've got a little bit of a moral authority left on the world stage. People think that they're trying to, like, I don't know, stop Iran from having nuclear weapons and bringing in a nuclear war. But like if they screw up strategically here on a number of fronts, not just militarily, but like having any semblance, like their last grip on the idea that they're the world police and they have some authority over the world. Like, China's just ready to kind of like fill the void that's left by America. They're very quiet at the moment. Like,
dude, I like going there, and I've spent a lot of time in China last year. Obviously, I'm not like I can't be like one of these expats and give you like a great vision into Chinese mind, but like I have talked to a lot of expats. They do not have the same mentality as the Americans do. Americans just are naturally violent, psychotic people.
Have you heard Pete Hegseth describe it, the Secretary of War? Have you heard him talk about it?
No.
Like, he's like, we're a warrior society. He said it. We need to be. He's like, I'm bringing back the Department of War. Well, first it was hilarious to get rid of the wokies. Hey, can't have fatties in the Pentagon. I hate that shit. And no more. What is it? No more soldiers in women's dresses or something like that. But like, he first attacked the wokies, but like second was like, we're a warrior class and we need to pay homage to that. We are warrior people.
No.
And it's like, we won wars when we were the Department of War, and we've only lost them ever since we became the Department of Defense. I'm bringing it back.
Dude, it's in their culture, and it like actually does make a lot of sense that they were able to build like the most impressive military industrial complex the world has ever seen. Because like I'm telling you, like culturally they gravitate towards that. But dude, you know what fucking Chinese people culturally gravitate towards? Hello, handsome, special price for you.
Yeah,
dude, that
business.
is in their blood. I'm telling you, they are traders. Yeah. This is why like anywhere that you go on planet fucking Earth, there's going to be a Chinatown, and then you go there and be like, cheap pride, you get knockoff Pikachu, cheap pride. That.
Hey, don't walk away. I got a sale for you. Sale for the life. Yeah, it's ingrained in their culture.
That is it, dude. They're interested in trade, and I'm telling you, like, you look at all of their stories, and all of their stories are just basically like, then a war happened. War was bad for it. Like that, all they give a shit. Like, dude, they don't like war because war interrupts trade. Like that, like even when you listen to their like art of war, it's all just about it's really expensive to go to war. Too much hassle. Like, dude, it's not their like first fucking thought like it is with the Americans. You know, like it really isn't. It's they are very much into trade. Like the worst thing that you could say about them maybe is that they like rat fuck you. You know, like it's really not on the same level as just like bombing you into the Stone Age, is it? Like,
yeah, no. If I had to choose.
Like, it's just, dude, it's a completely different mentality that you do actually understand if you spend some time in China. Whereas, like, I think it was just best summed up by, even though I hate these words, but you love them, but, like, that fucking, like, saying I think is so accurate, which is that, like, Japan is a socialist country that had capitalism forced on it, and China is a capitalist country that had socialism forced on it. I think that that's just what it is. Like, at their fucking core, it is a society of street hawkers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
you know, because like, dude, like you are tied to Singapore. This is how these people think.
Yeah. They're formidable business people. When you go walking around like hawkers, going around like stalls and stuff like that, it is ingrained in their personality. And like the Singaporeans, the traditional Singaporeans felt very threatened by the Chinese.
Fuck off this racist. Ooh. Why are you watching? What do you do with your life?
Well, Spandog hangs out with us.
Oh, okay. Wow, what an interesting life. So you go, I hate these people. Oh, I'm so much better than them. Dude, get a life. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, I'm just like, you're right. Like, there's an ingrained culture there when it comes to business and commerce. And like you look at their sayings and stuff that are like, you know, thousands of years old. You're right. Like, it's about, fundamentally, it all boils down to what's good for business. Like, having good relations is okay. Like, starting wars is okay, but you just got to remember at the end of the day, whatever's good for the flow of the moolah, baby. Just got to keep that moolah flowing. And like, I think that like China largely has gotten the best of both worlds in that regard. Like, they've been able to take the best parts of liberalism and like they've used the free market economy and the world economy to their advantage, but like they've done it from a very bureaucratic standpoint, which is traditionally Chinese as well. Like, they're Confucian and they do bureaucracies so well. It's their culture shining through there. And the West can't really compete with that at the moment. And like, I think Iran is going to be a pinch point for that. Yeah. Like, it's going to be a massive pinch point for that. And like militarily as well. Like, we're seeing like you talked about the industrial complex, like the military industrial complex of America. Like, the military industrial complex of America was built for the 20th century. And like, we're seeing now powers that have built their military industrial complex for the 21st century, like drone warfare, potentially automated weaponry, all that sort of stuff. Like, we're seeing the Americans struggle in real time here with what's happening to their fleet. They've now been trapped in like in the Gulf, like they're trapped there, their fleet now, because they've closed the Strait of Hormuz. And like, these are big, you know, an aircraft carrier, destroyers, all this sort of stuff. Like, this is 20th century technology that's being trapped by 21st century military tactics. And so like, like, this could be one of those like world order changing kind of situations.
And also, like, I don't know, like every time I ever listen to any of these, like which Jesus Christ, talk about a professional tea leaf reader job, like I really do see like international relations experts as like basically crystal ball, like just like tell me your fortune.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really
I know,
hard.
but like they always do just say the same things, which is just like. And it's kind of true. It's just like, look, as you're saying, like, because capital just keeps getting more and more tied and it becomes like more international, and also just because everything just happens so quickly and stuff like that, this actually is acting as like a better deterrent for war than even nukes. And it's kind of just this thing of like, I think that honestly, like China's perspective on all of this is that it's just kind of like, we'll weather out the Americans' tantrum. They're just being really adult about it. You know what I mean? It'll just like at some point it'll tip over.
You can do it with a planned economy. Because they can wait.
Exactly.
They can wait.
They can wait.
They can wait. Like all these people that I guess that find themselves to be big China analysts, like Barnaby Joyce, and they're just like, did you know that they have a plan to take Taiwan by 2027? And it's like, well, actually, what they said was like, 20 years ago, they were like, let's be ready to take Taiwan by military force if necessary by 2027. They have a plan. Do they want to take it militarily? Probably not. They don't want to have to. It's bad for business. Like they don't want to have to do that unless it's necessary.
Exactly.
But they plan for the worst case scenario. And so like if you are running through 4-year cycles, maybe 8-year cycles, because you have like presidents in like the imperial core, that is the US. Like if you have 8-year cycles, you can't fight against someone. You can't beat someone who's like 20 years ago, I want to be ready for this invasion if necessary. And like that's the thing that Iran has been doing. You could argue that they're kind of a planned economy in the sense that like they've planned their military economy around there's going to be an inevitable showdown.
Exactly.
There's going to be an inevitable showdown with the US, and like it's happened, and like they're ready.
Yeah.
This wasn't just like Trump just being like, all right, move another aircraft carrier and we'll see how it goes. Like they've been planning for like decades. They knew this was coming. Like this isn't just on a whim kind of thing. Like, as capital becomes more intensive, as you're saying, as like capital gets more and more global and we all become more and more intricately linked and dependent upon one another, the world economy becomes more and more important. And it's no coincidence that you have people like J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, all of these mouthpieces of the Trump regime that have been like talking nonstop about the evil globalists. For them, the 20th century was a period where they were the global order. And now the evil globalists are the people that want a multipolar world. And so they hate the idea of globalism now, even though they're the ones that potentially they pretty much orchestrated it. But they orchestrated it for their own interests. Now there's a world out there that's larger than them, a global economy. And like they're feeling the fact that they're just going to be another player in that supply chain as opposed to the one who can call the shots on it. And that's why JD Vance hates the globalists. It's so rich listening to fucking
but what are they going to like? What's their view of the? I just don't understand their fucking view. I really don't. Because like one day it's just like, oh, we're going to close ourselves off and we're just going to focus on regionalism or whatever, and then the next day they're attacking Iran. It's just it's schizophrenic. There's
as long as it maintains their control. Like they're happy to have a global economy as long as they call the shots. And so like Iran is just another piece in the puzzle of the adversaries that they have on their list. They're globalist adversaries. Like the multipolar world, they say, is rising.
I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Like I just really like that view of the world. It's just like, look, this is Asia's century. After that, it'll be someone else's century. Like, just have a more mature perspective of it, don't you reckon? Like, it's just weird, this, like, strange, like, controlling paranoia that, has infested the American, like...
Like zero-sum game kind of
class,
stuff. It's like either us or them, like, kind of thing. Like, somebody's got to be on top. Don't you reckon?
Like, it's just... And also on top of that, it's like... Okay, like... Europe isn't the center of the universe anymore. It's still like a force to be reckoned with. It's still major, like you know what I mean. Like it's just like it doesn't go anywhere or whatever. And like and again, it's had some time to lick its wounds after World War II, and it is rebuilding into something with the EU. Like it's,
But like, do you see
You know what I mean?
Do you see the Europeans having their own version of a future made in Europe?
Yeah, well, I would imagine that they've been implementing that for the last 20 years.
Yeah, well, you'd hope so.
It seems like it. They seem to be ahead of the curve. They seem to be hitting a lot of their like climate targets, and I would imagine that a lot of that is transforming their economy.
In that term, yes. But like, they could have been, I think, like on top of the AI revolution as well. They could have been on top of the tech. Like, they have the brains, they have the educated population, they have the people to make it happen, but they've kind of missed the window. And it really is, basically, for the most part, the tech world is divided between the US and China. It's either you use American software or you use Chinese software. Like, look at all of the commotion about Huawei. That was about America making sure it remains dominant in the tech space. And the Europeans haven't got the same technology. I think they've missed the window in that regard. You might be right. They've got other technology. Maybe they'll be in resources and manufacturing. But like, the high-tech space is the forefront of the next phase of capitalism.
I'm sure they'd have something going, but yeah, you're right. Like, it's just, see, this is the thing that's like really bad. Like, I go back to the point about like having these sort of democratic institutions where you can have like either a paralyzed government or you can have just like a shit government that's in for a long time. And it's just like, dude, those windows to jump on this shit are coming smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
like, it really didn't matter if you missed a decade, like a century ago. It
Yeah,
didn't matter.
yeah.
It really matters now. Like, a lot changes in a decade now.
Now,
That's like, I guess, what's probably happened to the EU.
that's why I feel passionately about, I don't know how to convince people about this, but like, I think our strategic alignment with like the US and stuff like that, and like, it's so 20th century.
Yeah,
like,
it's so 20th century.
like we do need to.
But I think that, like, man, the prevailing propaganda point in Australia changes throughout. So say during the mining boom, for instance, the Liberal Party was very much China is our strongest trading partner. And then Obama shift to his like containment strategy of China, and then it immediately went to like China is the biggest threat in the world. Now that Albanese's back and he's trying to mend relations with China again because like they fucked it and they just
and
started
Europe
putting
too,
sanctions on us.
right?
Oh, and the Europe one was bad.
Yeah, that's
Like,
something.
this is something that I just like. Okay, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, which is just like breaking contract and like what a bad move that is. Which goes to the gas thing, but in an example of that is us pulling out of the French sub deal. Like, what was the ramifications of that? Macron immediately just goes... Obviously, we didn't see any of this because our news is going to be like, yeah, you tell those frogs, Sky, mate. Like, just another win for Sky, mate.
This is what I was saying before. Like,
what?
our Anglosphere culture, like, we shoot ourselves in the foot. We cut off our nose to spite our face a lot.
No, but it's
in that
dude,
regard.
that is... Yes, okay.
You
yeah, because it was
tell him,
very much-
ScoMo.
because they wanted him to sign up with Walkers. Yeah, but like... But like, man, what was the impact of that? This is what I'm saying. Like, EU is still like a big player. Basically, he just comes out. He says that Australia can't be trusted anymore. He moves out the ambassador from Canberra. That means that there's no deals or negotiations happening between France and Australia. Then he goes over and doesn't address in the EU. We don't see any of this in our press. Goes over and doesn't address it in the EU and says that these guys are basically the same as fucking Somali pirates. Like, I'm sorry, but you are an adult. Like, you don't get to just like it's a contract with your mum as a teenager. Like, I'll pay you back. Like, it's like, no, I'm sorry. Like, this is how adults, like what we're talking about when you're just saying with China, that they can guarantee that if they sign a contract in the 50s, they can honour it in 2000. You know? They can do that. But like, Australia is one of the few places on planet Earth where you can change governments and there is still just like this understanding that the last government is going to honour what this government did, you know? And ScoMo completely changed that. And as a result of that, then the EU comes out and says, all right, well, we're pausing our trade negotiations with you. That was like $110 billion of trade a year, back and forth, just completely paused. Now they've come back and said, because again, the Albanese government and Penny Wong have had to just smooth over that relationship and be like, sorry, it won't happen again. You know, like, yeah, you're right. And like pay them reparations for it and all this shit.
Reparations. Like, honestly?
And fair enough. Yeah, we deserved it. Like, I think we had to pay like, I can't remember, like billions of dollars to the French for it. Billions. And we absolutely deserve to be copped with that. Like, we absolutely did the wrong thing there. Like, massively. Massively. And now negotiations have resumed with signing a trade deal with the European Union. But by all accounts, like, they're a lot more tepid than they were before. There's a lot less goodwill than there was before. And that shows up in the contracts. There's going to be more clauses.
Yeah,
there's going to
more
be more,
stipulations.
like, you know, like if this happens, then this happens. And there's
Yeah.
going to be more stipulations. And that just limits the amount of trade that you can do with this country. And what do you think is going to happen with every contract that we ever do with the EU ever since after that? It's kind of just like, okay, well, Labor's proven that it can be a trustworthy thing, but the Liberals could get in any day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's sort of the instability of the parliamentary system coming back at you again.
Don't you think?
Hey,
Don't you think?
hey, yeah, well, it's a fair point.
It's a fair point. And, like, you know, exactly the same with China. Like, you know, Scott Morrison was just shit canning them for no good reason. Coming up with all kinds of stipulations. We need an investigation into Wuhan and, like, just dumbass Sky News points. Yeah. Like, actually, like, antagonizing them with just, like, military moves and shit like that. And China was just like, what the fuck is this? Just shut up and just, like, put, like, minor-ass trade sanctions on us. Minor.
Yeah.
That was $50 billion a year.
Yeah.
This cunt costs us nearly $200 billion a year.
Yeah.
Not like us directly, like I'm talking trade back and forth between us, but this is like $200 billion of economic activity that has been stymied because we had one dipshit in.
Yeah, reputational damage.
And reputational damage.
Well, it goes a long way.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And like if you don't have that goodwill and you don't have that sort of understanding that, like, you know, your government can be trusted, dude, you very quickly turn into fucking some warlord in Chad that just storms the palaces like, there's a new president now. This company has given me a better contract for our diamonds. And then like what does every fucking global company and country on earth think when they look at that? Why would I put any long-term investment into this country?
Yeah.
You know, like, it's so damaging to do that stuff. And just another reason that you're talking about of just like, this is why you want stable, long governments that are dependable. Because like that investment is something that like Australia, a handful of, even with this reputational damage now, we are part of a handful of countries that can even be regarded as trustworthy like that.
Yeah.
Let alone democracies.
I just think
that's why America's really trashed themselves with all these sanctions and everything. Like, like trade deal stuff. Like that is absolutely trashed their reputation. Like, I think honestly, I've heard economists talk about this, and they're just like, "How much do you think this is costing us?" And they're like, "I can't even put a figure on it. I can't even put like the amount of damage that this has done for the entire future of the United States is just uncalculable at this point." You know.
But like this is the tariff policy stuff we're talking about. The trade wars. Yeah. Because like what happens is like what you're describing is like businesses, capitalists, they want investment security. They want to know if they're going to pour their capital into something, it's not going to be a flash in the pan. Especially if they're spending, like now, we're talking about, you know, billions of dollars worth of investment. This isn't like, you know, the old days.
Dude,
like
trillions.
Or trillions.
Literally talking trillions of investment.
Yeah. And so like you can't just like rip that up because there's some culture warrior that comes in as a new politician and decides to change the strategic direction of a country. And so like that's kind of what we're seeing on the world stage with Trump 2.0. Like he's come in with these tariff policies and he's just like, and I'm going to like the wall rhetoric. He's like, you know, I'm going to do this and everyone else is going to pay for it. And it's like, well, actually what's going to happen is people are going to just hold off from investing in your country because they're not sure what's going to happen. And like when he got pissed off that the Supreme Court overruled his tariffs, he raised it by 5%. And like people were like, oh man, I was banking on it being 10%. Like,
yeah, no.
And like
on a dime.
On a dime. And so like if you're competing with like China now, like if we're serious about like, you know, like two world powers competing with each other, and you have the stability of a country that can really plan its economics, you know, 20 years in advance, as opposed to just being like, oh, our supreme leader got upset today, and so he changed economic relations with the entire world, and like hit up the entire world with new trade policy. Like they're basically killing themselves. Like it goes back to what we were saying before. China just has to wait. And like they get the moral high ground.
Exactly.
They get the moral high ground on that too, because like everyone's like, well, I can't invest in the US at the moment because I don't know if tariffs are going to go up and like if it's going to be reasonable to invest there.
Exactly.
And so like, you know, it's unfortunate to see it come to this.
Man, it's honestly like this is the whole thing that I do actually finally understand. Like why the news was always, I feel like such a dumbass for never really understanding this, but then they're always just talking about like business confidence is low and business confidence is high and like this kind of stuff, right? That really just comes down to that. It's really just like how much they trust the government is like I think honestly this is something that people don't get about businesses, which is like
About the
they
free
always think
market.
that like, you know, like, yeah, exactly, like that they're always just going to like pick the lowest taxing place and all this kind of shit, right? And it's like, no, dude, the absolute bedrock of all of it is, if I sign a deal, will it be honored?
Yeah.
That's really what they fucking care about.
And nothing does that like a strong state, that's for sure.
Don't you reckon?
Good government.
It doesn't.
The free market, it's the biggest myth in the world that like the market doesn't love a good doesn't love a good state or a government. Like this idea of like this libertarian notion that if you just got rid of the state, then the free market would actually be able to do something. Like kind of thing. It doesn't. It's not real.
You got
it's
rid
not real.
of that in Somalia. Like, look at it.
Hmm.
That's the free market in action. You know,
That's the anarchy of the free market right there.
dude, it's really funny as well because like anarchy's flag is black and so is like pirates. It's basically the same thing. Like it's essentially just piracy. That's what happens.
It's no coincidence, that's for sure.
Don't you reckon? Like that's really what happens when you get rid of that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you're left with.
And so, like, yeah, like it's just it's a bullshit trope that people have come up with, this idea that like markets don't not only need the state, but they love the state. They love the stability that it provides. Regulations give them. It's like when you have a project and they're just like, go and do whatever you want. You're running around and you're like, I don't know what to do. But like they say, go do a project on this, and here are the boundaries. Like you can flourish because you've got some fucking, you got something to bounce off.
You know what the rules are.
You got some rules, you got some boundaries, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, you can actually play a game because it's there.
Now, we do have to cut it. But like before we go, I would like to know your prediction for the upcoming SA elections.
Oh, well, that's just gonna like it will be more red than the People's Assembly in China. It will be so utterly trouncing. I also think that that's actually what's going to happen in New South Wales as well, because different reasons in South Australia. It's just like in South Australia for 2 decades now, it's just been like, you know, Labor delivering result after result after result, and they're an educated enough population. I don't know why, but South Australia is just got like, I really like South Australians. I like them because like, you know, they've got that same thing in New Zealand of like, you can joke around with them and say some like un-PC things and they get that it's a joke. Whereas like if you say that shit in WA or Queensland or something like, yeah, fuck them, and you're like, okay, they mean that. Like,
I was just joking. I was just joking.
You know, New South Wales and Victoria have it the other way where they're like, oh my God, how could it? It's like, shut the fuck up. And like South Australia is the perfect combination of just like educated Australians that like to have a laugh, you know, like they're fucking perfect.
I remember the first time I ever went to one of your shows before. I went with 4IS, and he was like, come along, we'll go and watch Jordan. It'll be like the good old days. And like, I was so surprised to be in the audience, and like you made some like some joke about some like the economy being in such a state. It's like a drunk girl at a train station who's like can't go to the toilet properly, she can't wee properly on the station, she's got her undies around her ankles and they're stumbling everywhere. And like, it was pretty funny in the context, but like someone stood up in the audience and they were really offended by what you had said. Like they were so upset and they were screaming at you and they're like, you're a sexist, you're crazy. And I was just like, why do you come to a show like this if you're just going to be
upset of having a chronically online audience?
Yeah, but like, why would you come to a comedy show to get so fucking offended? Like, she was outraged. Like, if she had a glass bottle, she would have fucking clocked you with that and would have killed you. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, you know, it was unsanitary. It wasn't the best joke, but like, you know, she just wanted to get pissed off. Is that a thing for you comedians? Like, people just want to come to get angry at you?
Yeah, that definitely happens. That's always like a thing that happens in comedy. But I think that it's just magnified when your audience is online. I honestly think that like if you had just a normie audience and they heard that joke, that wouldn't even get to that point of like, oh, that was really racy or whatever. It's just like, if you have chronically online people, they're basically just like, they're just a one-man Taliban, aren't they? They've just like gone into their feed so much.
One-man Taliban. The ultimate echo chamber.
No, exactly. The ultimate echo chamber. So like there is a percentage of the audience that is that.
Okay, but that was in Sydney. So like you're saying, SA people, they can take a joke.
Yeah, South Australia people are just... And I'm telling you, it was the same thing in New Zealand. It was the same thing. It was educated audiences that can take a joke. And I always see that as just like a society that is a bit civilized, frankly. Like genuinely civilized. There's not this like over-performance of just like, oh, we're so cultured and sensitive.
What about the Poles then?
Huh?
The Poles.
What about them?
Like the Poles are telling a different story.
What?
The rise of one nation, and they're going to take over.
In SA?
The SA, Victoria, apparently. They're moving like on the national stage.
Look, in Victoria, yeah, I think there's a chance of that. And if that does happen, again, like, so be it. It's sort of the same thing as what happened in Tasmania. Tasmania can just be an endless whipping boy for the rest of the country of just like, you seriously want this? This is what you want. Yeah. You know? Like, I think it's the same thing with Victoria.
SA, it's not a thing.
No,
it's not a thing.
No.
Labor comes in hard and like actually increases. It's regime.
No, it'll be a red wave. It'll be a fucking red wave. And I'll tell you, it's for the same reason, not to the same degree, but like definitely in New South Wales, it will just be because in New South Wales, especially because we have just like we have optional preferencing, but that is going to screw Liberal Party infrastructure so bad, and One Nation does not have the infrastructure to pick it up, that Labor will just be winning seats that they shouldn't win. They'll be running over the line because they're the only voting bloc left that's sensible, you know? And so this is what's great about our electoral system. If you actually have a voting bloc that is reasonable, you can prosper. But if you just have like a bunch of psychos that are just going in there and just like suicide bombing the ballot, like...
and that comes down to mandatory voting as well, right? We have a more balanced preferential
voting. Mandatory preferential voting. If you want to keep a democracy running, that's your best bet.
And so do you consider yourself a centrist then?
I don't consider myself any of those words.
I don't like those words.
I hate those words.
But like what you're arguing, okay, let's get rid of the word. What you're arguing for is a balanced middle in the sense that mandatory voting and preferential system ensures that the peripheries or the extremes of the political spectrum are kept in check and people gravitate towards the middle like a bell curve kind of thing. So let's not use the word centrist because it offends you. Are you an advocate for the bell curve system? Like where people like make rational decisions.
Dude, again, like I'm also an advocate for the fucking Chinese Communist Party. Dude, I'm an advocate for getting things done. I'm an advocate for fucking intelligent choices.
So in our system, the bell curve system, in our current system, that kind of everyone amasses in the center kind of thing is the most efficient that we can get.
Yeah, that's as good as you can get in a democracy, I reckon. Honestly, like what's the fucking alternative? Honestly, the United States. That's the alternative right there.
And what's the United States?
That's direct democracy in action, isn't it?
The bell curve shifts all the way to what, a right wing kind of. Is that the system you're describing there with the US?
I mean, like, you know, like I honestly do think this. In Australia, I don't think that you can get One Nation / MAGA elected to government. I don't think it's possible. If you did, I can guarantee you're not getting MAGA 2. Now more action packed. Like it's not happening. You know, they're not electing it again.
Yeah.
Because there's not all these disinterested bozos that just sit home, don't give a shit. Like those normies are sort of like the saving force of that, really. Like because they're kind of just running on vibe, and they're kind of just like that scares the shit out of me. Like a big reason why Dutton was not able to. Like Dutton actually could have been very competitive in the last. Think about that. Dutton could have been competitive in the last election if we had an American system, you know, because there'd just be enough psychos that would want to go out and vote for it, and there'd be enough people that are reasonable but have no fucking interest in politics at all that'd just stay home, you know. And I'd be one of those people too if I was into, I don't know, Friends or something. Like I just wasn't into this. Yeah, I'd just stay home. Why wouldn't you? Why would you fucking pain in the ass lining up to vote?
Yeah.
You got no understanding of why it's important. None.
Yeah. And they don't make it easy.
And they don't make it easy.
Yeah. It's what I've noticed in like countries like that, like America, France even. I was in France for an election once, and like because they don't have mandatory voting, like they got a massive population, and like they don't have to service them. Like the big part of Australia's kind of electoral system is making sure that on election day, everyone who can vote can vote. Like that's a big game. There's a lot of bureaucracy and infrastructure that goes into making that possible and easy. Like sometimes you can rock up if you pick the right time of the day and not even have to wait in line. Like if you're doing that in the US, if you're doing that in France where I was, oh my God, like you have to commit to voting because you might be there for like 4 or 5 hours. You might be lining up around the block and you want to make your participation in this democratic system worth it. And I'm just like, fuck, I wouldn't vote. Like if I had to choose,
but like,
I wouldn't fucking stand in line for 8 hours.
Psycho. It'd be that chick that was at the comedy show. She'd be lining up. You know, don't you think? Like it'd just be like these cunts in the rain, just kind of like rocking back and forth, just being like, you got to vote. Like that type of person that's determining your democracy. Yeah. It's like the zealots.
Yeah, the zealots. Yeah,
and that's fucked. So it's like, dude, like how often have you ever met a zealot, like someone that just can't even fucking listen to or accept any point? That like goes against their feed. Yeah. Like, have you ever met any of them that is just like a person that like knows what's up in the world? No. And that is who you are getting to run the country. So I think that like generally, the general population is kind of like will just gravitate naturally towards the most boring person, and I think that you can run like a pretty good deception like you can with Howard or something like that. And that's got its own problems. And again, like I think that that's just a huge inefficiency in democracy. But you're getting a Howard elected. You're not getting Pauline Hanson elected. I think that's the difference. And the thing is, at the very least, John Howard had like a respect for how bureaucracy actually worked and how Parliament worked. You know,
Well, he had a stake in the game.
Someone in there that just doesn't fucking understand what it is. The machine is like. Could it get any worse than that? You know what I mean? Like someone that legitimately does not understand what their job is. It's just like, you know, asking a mechanic to be a dentist or something.
They might not understand the game, but they know what the average Australian voter wants. Hey, I'm an average Australian.
That's what's so annoying about all of these assholes. Like, this is the other thing that's like a massive inefficiency in democracy. Think about it if you are a policy wonk and you're spending all of your time thinking about like crafting some policy that no one gets, that is actually genuinely profound, but like it's just too many steps in your head. And then you've just got some piece of shit loudmouth on Instagram just going off and being like, I'll tell you what the problem is. This is the problem, right? Just shut down migration tomorrow. Just do it. We're getting, like, shafted by multinationals. Just fucking tax the cunts more. Like, just these cunts are getting in. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, that's what happens in a democracy as well. I know that, like, this is kind of like a tempering force towards that, but it's just loudmouths that don't know what they're talking about. And like, even if you are a policy wonk and you're really focused on policy, just because you are in an electoral system, you still have to devote like 60% of your brain power to getting elected again. Think about it from China's perspective. Think about all of those policy nerds, which is like everyone in their parliament, in their government. Like, have they ever had to think about an election once in their entire career? You know?
Yeah, they do their internal stuff. But like that's the long and the short of it.
And their internal stuff is more or less just like
who's the best person for the job?
Labour Party caucus or something. It's not an existential threat to getting voted out or a guy called like Bob Ross, One Nation. Australians have had enough of what? Just more flags in the background. You think about that? Like, you're not getting voted out for these cunts.
All right, 2 more quick fire. because we gotta go. We got 2 minutes left. What would you say to people that want to vote independent? Yes or no? Will independence solve Australia's political crisis? Do you vote for independence?
Oh, for Christ's sake. Gee, okay.
Just quickly. Yes or no? Do you vote for independence?
No. And, like, but on
You
top
got
of this, no,
2 minutes. Go on.
I'll tell you this. What has happened is billionaires have co-opted the idea of an independent. Everyone has this idea that it's just some quirky guy that has the little pet issues that comes in, works with the government and shit like that. Dude, the community independents, your Pococks, your fucking Allegra spenders, all of these cunts are funded to the hilt with billionaires, and they give off on the vibe of... They figured out, because they've just got like millions of dollars to spend on fucking marketing, that the way that you get politicians that do the bidding of billionaires elected these days is that you run on the vibe of fuck billionaires, and you show you just saying some shit like that in Parliament, and because Zoomers have like got the attention span of 30 seconds, they don't fucking fact check any of it, and so they get elected. And this is what the independents, in inverted commas, the community independent, like just think about community independent, like dude, just that name, there is millions of dollars of marketing behind that. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like it's such an obvious ruse.
It's got the C word in it. All right. One more. Australian Republic. Yes or no?
No, fuck no.
No. Well, because you're a monarchist.
Monarchist, and also like but I don't think that it really matters at the end of the day, that shit.
You don't think there could be any constitutional tinkering? We could make the governance structure better through a Republican process, restructuring our political structure,
Why would that
system.
change any of that?
Like, you could factor in new articles in the Constitution to make our governance system more efficient.
Wait, are you saying that if we change from a king to a president, you would be able to do that shit?
You reconstitute. Yeah.
No way. Like, okay, what you're talking about is completely... Okay, you're talking about the concept of a republic.
Of a republic. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. I thought that you're talking about just like the election of like, do we have a president or is King Charles in the courts?
Yeah, no. Like more extensive than that. Like Australian Republic. Like
yeah. But like, dude, what's the point of even arguing that? Like, it's fantasy football stuff.
It'll never happen.
No, fuck no, dude. I honestly think that.
Interesting. It's fantasy football stuff.
Don't you think, like, really, like...
Come on, bro. Fucking hell.
It's really...
Seriously.
Yeah, I think, honestly, there's, like... Once a culture has... I'm really pro this point these days. Holy fuck, I think the Republicans are so right about this one point. You ever heard their phrase, politics flows downstream from culture?
Yeah.
Isn't that just so accurate? I honestly just think, like, my classic example is going to Turkmenistan. You go to the capital, you've got the president there, he's in a golden horse with a fucking sword in there. And then you go to, like, because it's also got some of the oldest cities in the world there that are like archaeological excavations. You go out there, there's some king on a horse in a sword, be like, yeah, like it hasn't changed. It's fucking 4,000 years. It's the same thing.
So, like, in that vein, then, like what we were talking about before with China, then like Australia won't change its relations with China and make them our most important strategic partner. We're going to stick with the US forever.
No, but we changed from Britain to America. Like, I don't think that it's like anything to do with that. I think that it's just sort of like, okay, all right, just a very quick example of like the Republic versus monarchy.
Yep.
And by the way, I'm very glad that Howard did this. I honestly, sincerely think it's the only good decision he made. People always go like, oh, what about the guns? Nah, keeping King Charles. That's what was fucking awesome. But the way that they sink it is the way that they sunk The Voice. It's the way that you can sink anything, and it is because this is very deeply ingrained in the Australian psyche. You always just go like, oh, thinks he's so fucking... You know, they got rid of Paul Keating. You know what it was? His entire campaign strategy was based off of this. There used to be ads running of this. It was, if Paul Keating wins a sixth time, just imagine how smug he'd be. And then Australia was just like, we got to do something.
Yeah, it's time. He's getting too smug. He's achieved...
Because I'm telling you, like, dude, like, tall poppy syndrome is, like, really bad. Dude, that is our version of Chinese people. Like, you buy now. It's like our version of that is just like, he thinks he's so fucking good. Yeah. I'll fix his wagon.
I'll knock him down a few pegs, I will.
That's what it was. And that's how they sunk the Republic. It was just like exactly the same thing.
Malcolm Turnbull wants a republic. Look at this smug prick. He just wants to be the first president, doesn't he? Well, why don't you puncture that arsehole's dream? And then it's just like, fuck him like that.
So
And dude,
good.
don't you think as an Australian, like even like making fun of that, you kind of are like,
You can feel it.
nah, actually, but they've got a point. He
Look
would
at
be
the fuck.
fucking smug.
I can
Fuck him,
feel
you know?
that. I can feel that. Nah, fuck him. That's Australian.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck him.
Don't you think? It's in you, isn't it? Like, it's a part of your DNA.
Nah, fuck him.
Cunt. Really is.
All right, that's the political lesson of the day. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. Friendly Jordies, thank you very much for coming in.
Oh, it
Do
was my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
Do appreciate it. And thank you for everyone who's tuned in. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this on Twitch, follow for more. And we'll have you in again another time, maybe in a few months or something like that. You let me know when you're free and we can do this again. And like, I'll try to, I don't know, get some questions from the chat next time. I'll do it properly instead of the half-assed way that we organized it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. You know how it is. And until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.